Chapter 61. Ants should bow their heads. Upon hearing this, Imo Xiong and the other Imo feather guards nodded in agreement, considering the statement completely logical. They showed no regard for the life of a mere village bumpkin. Only Imo Qingfei frowned. Isn't this too cruel? What was a soul-bursting pill? It was a forbidden drug that could drain the user's life potential and even their soul in a short amount of time. After the effects wore off, the user's internal organs would directly wither, and their innate spiritual energy would be completely depleted. They would then become a dried-up corpse. What was most wicked was that even the soul would be consumed by the soul-bursting pill, leading to its complete annihilation. They wouldn't even be able to become a ghost. It had to be said that although Imo Qingfei possessed extraordinary strength, as the favored daughter of Imo Feather Sect, she had always been well protected. She was, in a sense, inexperienced in the ways of the world. Therefore, she still maintained a certain degree of innocence. Hearing this idea from her senior brother, a sense of resistance immediately surged within her. Cruel? Without us, that bumpkin would have been torn apart by the corpse demons anyway. Besides, if he doesn't lure the corpses, who will? Imo Qingzhou pursed his lips, unconcerned. Imo Qingfei pondered for a few seconds, then extended a slender jade finger and pointed it at Imo Qingzhou. I think it's most appropriate for senior brother to lure them. With your strength, as long as you don't get bogged down in battle, that corpse king definitely won't be able to catch you. Uncle Xiong and I can then take the opportunity to open the temple door and enter the main tomb chamber and join forces to kill that female corpse king. You lure the male corpse king around a few times to create distance, then return, and it will be absolutely safe. Upon hearing this, Imo Qingzhou's lips twitched a few times. Well played. It seemed that her junior sister was unwilling to harm the village bumpkin, and in the end, she wanted him to lure the corpses. For a moment, a touch of anger and resentment welled up in Imo Qingzhou's heart. Indirectly, his killing intent towards that Nyoda grew even stronger. Junior sister, why are you so biased? You protect that village bumpkin, yet you're making me take the risk? Imo Qingzhou asked, his face darkening. Imo Qingfei shook her head. It's different. Having that Nyoda take the soul-bursting pill to lure the corpses means certain death, and not even his soul will remain. But, senior brother, as long as you handle it properly, you can be safe and sound. Imo Qingzhou snorted coldly, a lowly commoner. How can he compare to me? I am also taking a risk. Correct. The life of a village bumpkin is as cheap as grass. It doesn't matter if he dies. But if something goes wrong with Qingzhou, not even 1,000 or 10,000 village bumpkin lives would be enough to compensate for it. At this moment, Imo Xiong also spoke in a deep voice. On one hand was the certain death of the village bumpkin. On the other was Imo Qingzhou taking a slight risk. But apart from Imo Qingfei, everyone else felt that the former was not worth mentioning, while the latter was 100 times more serious. But Imo Qingfei wanted to say something more, but she was directly cut off by her protector. Imo Xiong waved his hand. There's no, but that's settled. Qingfei, you are inexperienced in the cruelties of the cultivation world. In all matters, you must weigh the pros and cons, and not consider what's good or righteous. A woman's sentimentality will only harm others and oneself. Having said that, without waiting for Imo Qingfei to say anything else, Imo Xiong gestured to 2 Imo feather guards and had them go back to bring Nyodi over. This underground palace is full of dangers. To be on the safe side, I'll go with you. Imo Qingzhou said, a hint of ruthlessness flashing in his eyes. Initially, as they explored, their progress was naturally slow. But on their way back, the 3 of them, including Imo Qingzhou, only spent less than the time it takes for one incense stick to burn. Why does it feel like the spiritual energy here is gone? At this moment, they were in a relatively spacious area, with 2 tomb chambers on each side. It was precisely where they had first encountered the green zombie demon. Not only is the spiritual energy gone, even those spirit stones used to build the walls have turned into waste rocks. It's like something sucked them dry. One Imo feather guard observed their surroundings, also in disbelief. This is weird. Be careful, everyone. Imo Qingzhou frowned. a hint of vigilance appearing on his face. Let's go, quickly find that commoner and bring him back, lest there be any unexpected troubles. In the tomb passage, the moment Imo Qingzhou and the other two came up the spiral staircase, Chu Zhetian had already noticed them. Therefore, he immediately stopped cultivating. So, Imo Qingzhou and the other two only noticed the disappearance of spiritual energy, but didn't detect anything else. Next, they searched the two tomb chambers outside and then entered the tomb passage. Qingzhou, this village bumpkin is right here. One Imo feather guard saw Niu De sitting on the ground, looking bewildered, and immediately called out to Imo Qingzhou. Hee, this commoner is afraid even of those dead corpse demons and hid in the tomb passage? Imo Qingzhou sneered and quickly walked towards Chu Zhetian. Why are you back? Chu Zhetian stood up and asked calmly. Seeing only the three of them returning, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. A playful expression appeared on Imo Qingzhou's face. Because we've reached the end of this ancient tomb and are about to leave. So, we've kindly come back to get you. Hearing this, Chu Zhetian appeared extremely grateful and said repeatedly, Thank you. Thank you, the three immortals. One Imo feather guard exchanged glances with Imo Qingzhou and sneered. You village bumpkin, are you just going to thank us with your mouth? Aren't you going to show some sincerity and quickly kowtow to us? The other person said, I think the kowtow is enough. Qingzhou's idea before wasn't bad. How about putting a dog collar on his neck and leading him over? As the words fell, Imo Qingzhou burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha. Good idea. That's decided. Saying this, he took out the dog collar from his spatial treasure and pointed it at Chu Zhetian's nose. Come, commoner, put it on yourself. Otherwise, we won't take you out. If we don't take you out, you'll die in here. The corpse demons here will tear out your heart and liver and shred you to pieces. If you want to live, why aren't you doing as we say? The two Imo feather guards also laughed, as if they were teasing a fool. They not only wanted to have this Niu De lure the corpses, but they even wanted to humiliate and play with him before he died. Killing the heart is the worst kind of killing. Chu Zhetian looked at them, his eyes slightly narrowed. After confirming that only these three had returned this time, he had already decided on the fate of the three. Especially, the fact that they were jumping around in front of him made the killing intent in Chu Zhetian's heart nearly burst out. At this moment, Imo Qingzhou stepped forward and poked Chu Zhetian's shoulder with a finger. What's wrong, commoner? Still not convinced? Now that my junior sister Qingfei isn't here, no one's protecting you anymore. Do as we say, or I'll make your life worse than death. For a lowly ant like you, we cultivators are like gods in the sky, understand? You have no right to disobey. Bowing your head obediently is the wisest choice. As these words fell, the Niu De in front of him finally nodded to him. Word by word, he said, Okay, I will bow my head to you. Upon hearing this, Imo Qingzhou and the two Imo feather guards' faces immediately filled with mocking and smug smiles. In this ancient tomb, it seemed pretty good to have a commoner around to have some fun. Bang, bang. However, before the smiles on their faces could fully bloom, a sudden change occurred. Accompanied by two muffled thunder-like collision sounds, two figures flew out directly. Chapter 62, The Coffin. It moved. The ones who flew out were the two Imo feather guards. After landing, their chests had visibly caved in. Their sternums were fractured. Their lungs were crushed to pieces. After vomiting a large amount of blood containing internal organ fragments, they twitched a few times and died. They were both killed by one punch from Chu Zhetian. Following this, strands of flesh essence were automatically absorbed by the blood wheel, allowing Chu Zhetian's physical strength to increase again by a small amount. Imo Qingzhou's face changed dramatically. After looking back at their deaths, he stared intently at Chu Zhetian in extreme shock and anger. The look in his eyes, which had previously treated them like ants and playthings, finally held a touch of seriousness. At this moment, even if he were to be stupid, he would know that this Niu De was not a simple, honest villager at all, but rather, wolf in sheep's clothing. Traitor! So you were hiding your strength? Imo Qingzhou gritted his teeth. Chu Zhetian sneered. Foolish things, you know now? Too bad it's too late. Die. As the words fell, Chu Zhetian immediately threw a punch at him. To be cautious, he didn't use the empty cracking sword to avoid revealing his true identity. The main thing was that the first stage of the Golden Core, the Qi refining realm, plus his physical strength at the Golden Body realm, gave him absolute confidence in crushing Imo Qingzhou. Imo Qingzhou's expression changed, and he hurriedly blocked with his sword. The 3-foot-long sword in his hand was called Cut the Heavens. It was a rare, earth-grade sword. Clang! Chu Zhetian's physical fist actually clashed with this earth-grade weapon. In the next instant, the two collided, and a metallic sound rang out. The immense recoil made Imo Qingzhou's tiger's mouth numb. His body could not help but take a step back. That originally vicious and arrogant face was filled with even more surprise. Even though the spiritual power fluctuations emitted by this Nyoda were also at the first stage of the Golden Core, but the power of his punch far surpassed his own at the same realm. After only one exchange, Imo Qingzhou knew that he was no match for the other person at all. At this moment, where was the arrogance of the Imo Feather Sect's senior brother, he immediately turned and ran. Aren't you the one who wanted me to bow? Why are you running? Chu Zhetian stomped his foot, and the terrifying power of his body erupted, shooting out over 100 meters. After 20-some breaths, boom! The spirit stones on the tomb passage wall, which had already turned gray, were all smashed to pieces by the flying Imo Qingzhou. At this moment, the body of this Imo Feather Sect senior brother slid to the ground like a broken sack. He vomited blood. His face was as pale as paper. Most of the bones on his body had already broken. His internal organs were also shattered and displaced. It was only by relying on the tenacious vitality of a Golden Core expert that he was barely hanging on to life. The Cut the Heavens sword had already fallen out of his hand. The next second, as he watched Chu Zhetian, who was walking towards him as if he was the devil of death, his eyes were filled with fear. Plop! Imo Qingzhou, who couldn't stand steadily, knelt on the ground. A flattering smile appeared on his face. Don't kill me. Brother, let's talk. Imo Qingzhou endured the hatred in his heart and knelt down to beg for mercy from Chu Zhetian. He was young, not yet 50 years old, and he had reached the first stage of the Golden Core. As long as he lived, his future would be boundless. He was really unwilling to die. Looking at the other person's kneeling posture, a smile devoid of any warmth appeared on Chu Zhetian's face. He walked to Imo Qingzhou and looked down at him. Weren't you the one forcing me to bow? Now I have bowed. But you have to kneel. Imo Qingzhou nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. Yes, yes, yes. Before, it was my lack of vision. Spare my life. I can be your dog. As long as you don't kill me, I can serve you in the future. Woof, woof, woof. In order to survive, the originally arrogant and haughty man knelt in front of Chu Zhetian and started barking like a dog. However, in the next instant, Chu Zhetian reached out and grabbed the Cut the Heavens sword that had fallen on the ground. Along with the sound of a sharp blade entering flesh, a head flew into the air. I don't need a dog like you. Chu Zhetian's voice was cold. Buzz. Following this, a more intense heat than ever before surged into his body, tempering and nourishing his physical body. Therefore, he had just broken through the Golden Body realm, and his physical strength increased by another 500,000 jin. Killing a Golden Core expert can actually increase my physical strength so much? Awesome! Chu Zhetian was in high spirits, and the image of Imo Xiong immediately appeared in his mind. As for Imo Qingfei, he didn't have any killing intent. Next, after searching the other person's body and putting his spatial treasure into his ring pouch, Chu Zhetian left this place. In the Guardian Hall, Imo Qingfei and Imo Xiong and the others were waiting 100 meters away from the huge coffin. Qingfei, in a while, that Nyoda will lure the Corpse King inside the coffin, and you will use the dragon and phoenix blood pearls to open the temple door. After our people have entered the main tomb chamber, you must use the fastest speed to close the temple door again. It's more than enough for us to deal with that female corpse king inside. When the time comes, you will take the realm-breaking pill in the main tomb chamber and reach the peak of the 9th stage of the golden core in a short period of time, and then refine the corpse king's nascent soul, and you can break through to the nascent soul realm. Then, come out and deal with this male corpse king, and it will be easy. Taking advantage of the time they were waiting for Imo Qingzhou to return, Imo Xiong explained the next arrangements to Imo Qingfei. Okay, I understand, Uncle Xiong. Imo Qingfei nodded. After being enlightened by Imo Xiong, she had already adjusted her emotions. No longer entangled by sacrificing Nyoda. At this moment, her beautiful eyes shone brightly. Thinking that she would soon be able to enter the nascent soul realm, she was filled with excitement and anticipation. Crack, crack. However, just at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Along with a grating sound, the coffin lid on the huge coffin actually moved. Everyone looked over upon hearing the sound, and they all had a feeling that their hairs were standing on end. And in the eyes of those secretly watching, a look of surprise appeared. This corpse king wants to come out by himself? Chu Zhetian thought to himself. At this moment, he had already arrived. He was hiding at the entrance of the Guardian Hall, inside a section of the tomb passage. He stared at the huge coffin, and he didn't know why. His forehead twitched violently several times. That position was exactly where the blood wheel eye was. The blood wheel eye actually has some kind of reaction to this coffin? Boom. Another loud roar and terrifying fluctuations. The incredibly heavy coffin lid was actually struck and flown away by a huge force. Following this, a dense black mist, like an explosion, surged out of the coffin. At the same time, there was also a pitch-black figure. The other party was wearing a luxurious Great Gene Python robe and jumped out of the coffin. His entire body was surging with strands of corpse chi that had solidified. As a corpse king, his flesh was extremely full. Even the face maintained the handsome appearance of his lifetime. It was just that his skin was as black as ink, exuding a chilling evil spirit. For a moment, the entire Guardian Hall was filled with a monstrous, ominous might. Damn it! Why did this corpse king come out by himself? Imo Xiong's expression changed drastically. He was shocked and furious. Imo Qingfei stared at this corpse king, and her beautiful face was also full of seriousness. And those Imo feather guards, because of the terrifying pressure emitted by the other party, felt uneasy. And Chu Zhetian, who was watching from the shadows, had a strange excitement in his eyes. The show has started. Chapter 63. Save you? You're overthinking it. In the eyes of the Imo Feather Sect and the others, as long as they kept their distance and didn't alarm the other party, the corpse king inside the coffin should be in a dormant state and wouldn't come out on their own. However, the reality exceeded their expectations. For a moment, the Guardian Hall was filled with monstrous, ominous might and corpse chi. Uncle Xiong, what do we do now? Not only the Imo feather guards with weaker strength, but also Imo Qingfei's face turned a little pale. Although she possessed the strength of the 2nd stage of the Golden Core, she had never experienced a real battle. Moreover, what she was facing now was not a normal cultivator, but a terrifying corpse king. This made Imo Qingfei feel panic from a psychological point of view. There's nothing we can do. I'll lure it away. You take the others and quickly open the temple door to enter the main tomb chamber. At the same time, transmit a message to Qingzhou and tell him to come back quickly. Don't worry about that, Nyoda. Imo Xiong's expression was also extremely serious. The next second, he gritted his teeth and charged towards the Python Robe Corpse King. Imo Qingfei nodded and approached the temple door, while taking out a communication jade pendant. However, there was no response from Imo Qingzhou's side. What happened? Could something have happened to senior brother over there? Imo Qingfei's face tightened, and a bad premonition welled up in her heart. At this moment, Chu Zhetian, who was hiding in the shadows and watching the tiger fight, sneered secretly. Still want to call Imo Qingzhou back? Qingzhou is already over 10,000 mountains. He won't be able to come back. Buzz. At this moment, the spirit power surged on Imo Xiong's double sabers, and he charged towards the Corpse King in anger. The might of the 6th stage of the Golden Core was on full display. Evil creature, take this. Roar. The Corpse King opened its mouth and emitted a deafening roar. His fist covered with dense corpse chi collided with Imo Xiong's double sabers. That powerful corpse body was actually comparable to a divine weapon. Imo Xiong groaned and stumbled back. His eyes shrank. Such a fierce monster. With just one exchange, he felt the terror of the python-robed Corpse King. Monsters like corpse demons, once formed, were impervious to knives and guns and possessed immense strength. At the level of Corpse King, the physical strength was even more terrifying. And the python-robed Corpse King in front of him not only had a strong body, but also evolved corpse chi within its body. Corpse chi to a Corpse King was like spiritual power to human cultivators, and it was even more evil and terrifying. With the addition of corpse chi, the strength of the Corpse King in front of him had already surpassed the average peak of the 9th stage of the Golden Core. It was almost equivalent to a half-step great expert who had just advanced to the nascent soul realm. At this moment, Imo Qingfei and the 10 Imo Feather Guards saw Elder Imo Xiong being repelled by the Corpse King in one exchange. Their faces were very serious. Roar. The next second, the Corpse King, surrounded by dense corpse mist, charged towards Imo Xiong again. Uncle Xiong, be careful. Imo Qingfei reminded him quickly. It's okay. I'll lure it away and not fight head-on. You quickly enter the main tomb chamber. Imo Xiong saw this and turned and ran, not intending to fight the Corpse King head-on at all. He clearly wanted to rely on the Corpse King's low intelligence to lead the other party in circles. However, a shocking scene appeared. The python-robed Corpse King chased Imo Xiong for a few meters, and then turned directly towards the direction of Imo Qingfei and the Imo Feather Guards. That pair of eyes was emitting a creepy green light. It was clearly flickering with a hint of human-like playfulness and cruelty. Damn it! This evil creature isn't chasing me? Imo Xiong's eyelids twitched and he was shocked and angry. Its intelligence doesn't seem low. Imo Qingfei's expression also changed. Feeling the Corpse King's violence, but also with a playful look in its eyes, she only felt cold all over her body. From the other party being buried in this underground palace to now, thousands of years had passed. After enduring a long period of time, the other party not only evolved into a Corpse King-level, peerlessly fierce monster, but also developed intelligence no less than that of humans. It was not at all as they had predicted before, with no intelligence and only instincts. Facing the Corpse King charging towards them, Imo Qingfei bit her lip and drew her sword to meet the attack. Clang! After exchanging blows with the Corpse King, her delicate body was also directly repelled. Roar! And after this fierce creature judged that Imo Qingfei's strength was not bad, it roared and turned its target again. It directly killed the 10 Imo Feather Guards. The python-robed Corpse King's punch pierced through the heart of a Imo Feather Guard. Crack! The next second, its large, black hand burst out with a million gene of force and broke the neck of another person. In the blink of an eye, it killed 2 Imo Feather Guards. Seeing this scene, Chu Zhetian frowned secretly. He found that the people killed by the Corpse King did not have flesh essence for him to absorb. Because the corpses were infected by corpse poison, they were rapidly transforming into corpse demons, thereby obstructing the escape of flesh essence. In his plan, except for Imo Qingfei, whom he could spare, the other Imo Feather Sect dogs were all nourishment for the heavenly swallowing Saint Physique. Isn't this stealing my kill? Chu Zhetian thought to himself. His expression was unfriendly. Qingfei quickly used the dragon and phoenix blood pearls to open the temple door. We'll enter the main tomb chamber. Close it outside. While the Corpse King slaughtered the Imo Feather Guards, Imo Xiong rushed over, grabbed Imo Qingfei, and charged straight towards the magnificent temple door at the end of the hall. Squeak! Squeak! Along with a grating sound, Imo Xiong and Imo Qingfei were both using all their strength to move the huge coffin. The recess for the dragon and phoenix blood pearls on both doors was clearly blocked by the coffin. It had to be moved away before the temple door could be opened. But this object, made of unknown material, was not only bone-chilling cold, but also weighed 10 million jin. Even a golden core expert, with all their strength, could only move it a little bit. At the speed of the two of them, I'm afraid the MO feather guards would all die, and the huge coffin wouldn't move even half a meter. Bang! The python robe corpse king punched a third MO feather guard, directly smashing him to pieces. Uncle Xiong, what do we do? We can't move this coffin in a short amount of time. The senior brother also lost contact. Why don't we fight this monster to the death? Seeing the MO feather guards die so quickly, it was difficult to even buy the two of them some time. Mo Qingfei was so anxious that she lost her composure. Mo Xiong's expression was also uncertain. Ah, you evil creature. I'll fight you to the death. At this moment, another Mo feather guard, seeing that he was the corpse king's next target, suddenly roared. It was as if he was going crazy before dying. Puff. However, the next moment, a muffled thunder-like collision sound suddenly appeared. Just as the python robe corpse king was about to kill the fourth Mo feather guard, a figure jumped 100 meters and rushed over in the blink of an eye. Two fists collided. Then the figure and the corpse king retreated at the same time. They actually clashed with the python robe corpse king, without falling behind. Don't steal. The remaining heads are mine. Chu Zhetian's eyes were spewing unfriendly light, and he looked at the python robe corpse king's green eyes and said. The peerlessly fierce creature stared at Chu Zhetian and revealed a human-like look of caution. And the Mo feather guard, who thought he would die, was stunned. After reacting, looking at Chu Zhetian, who was standing in front of him, he expressed a grateful and extremely shocked expression. Nyoda? Thank you for saving my life. As the words fell, Chu Zhetian turned his head to look. On his seemingly simple face, a devilish smile appeared. Save you? You're overthinking it. I just want to change places. I'll kill him instead. Chapter 64, Nyo Da's True Colors. Upon hearing this, the Mo feather guard looked stunned. Bang! But before he could react, he felt a terrifying force acting on his chest. Then, his entire chest collapsed, and his heart burst, killing him instantly. Before the consciousness of his death dissipated, he finally realized, so he didn't want to save me, but instead, to replace the corpse king and kill me with his own hands. But why? He could never understand Chu Zhetian's actions, even at the moment of death. And Chu Zhetian didn't need others to understand. As he killed this Mo feather guard, a stream of heat surged into his body again. Roar! At this moment, the corpse king's eerie green eyes glared at Chu Zhetian, emitting a roar of shock and rage. That intelligence, which was no less than that of a human cultivator, made it sense a huge threat from Chu Zhetian. For a moment, it didn't act rashly. The other Mo feather guards, including Mo Qingfei and Mo Xiong, looked at Chu Zhetian with even more shock and fury. This village bumpkin had actually punched their comrade to death? He, who had trembled at the sight of the green zombie demon, was actually so terrifying in strength. He could even fight head-to-head with the corpse king and not be at a disadvantage. At this moment, how could they not understand that this Nyoda had been pretending all along? Nyoda? You bastard! Mo Qingfei looked at the Mo feather guard's death, then glared at Chu Zhetian and cursed. The next second, her expression changed and she suddenly thought of something. Did my senior brother and the others also suffer your poisonous hands? Chu Zhetian only glanced at her indifferently, but didn't respond. Only a sword appeared in his hand out of thin air. With another sword, he killed another Mo feather guard. With his current strength, it was like child's play to instantly kill these experts of the mixed Yuan realm. Feeling the streams of heat surging into his body, Chu Zhetian thought to himself that these Mo feather guards died a worthy death. Its senior brothers cut the heaven sword. Nyoda, I'll kill you. Mo Qingfei stared at the sword in Chu Zhetian's hand, her eyes wide with anger. Saying this, she was about to rush up and fight Chu Zhetian to the death, with a look of grief and indignation. However, at this moment, Mo Xiong raised his arm and stopped her. Qing Fei, now is not the time to avenge Qingzhou and the others. Quickly take the opportunity to move the coffin. Mo Qing Fei, upon hearing this, gritted her teeth in hatred. Reason also told her that Uncle Xiong was right. Squeak, squeak, accompanied by a grating sound. Mo Xiong and Mo Qingfei continued to use all their strength to move the huge coffin little by little. Roar. Seeing this, the python-robed corpse king immediately emitted a violent roar, abandoning the formidable foe Chu Zhetian, and charged towards them. It was clearly a bit more frenzied than before. It seemed to use all its strength, not allowing others to enter the main tomb chamber. Not good, the corpse king is coming. Mo Xiong's face tightened. Mo Qingfei was also ready for battle. Whoosh! But just at this moment, Chu Zhetian, who had just killed the last Mo feather guard, leaped over. He stood in front of the python-robed corpse king. You continue. I'll help you block this monster. Chu Zhetian glanced back and said coldly. Of course, he wasn't being kind. He also wanted to enter the main tomb chamber and have Mo Qingfei and the others open the door for him. We don't need your help. You bastard. Mo Qingfei, after all, was inexperienced in the ways of the world, and hearing this, she gnashed her teeth and cursed. Her delicate and sweet face was filled with anger. Her originally energetic and beautiful eyes stared at Chu Zhetian, filled with hostility and disdain. Qingfei, there's no need to waste words. The important thing is urgent. Mo Xiong quickly advised her, moving the huge coffin with all haste. Bang, 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 boom. At this moment, Chu Zhetian and the python-robed corpse king engaged in close combat. The former had put away the cut-the-heavens sword and fought the python-robed corpse king fist to fist, foot to foot. Each collision between the two carried the physical force of 1,000,000 jin. The powerful spiritual energy and corpse chi made the aftershocks of the two's attacks terrifying. The corpses of the Mo feather guards were directly Juncheng's Thoiro, shattered into pieces. The spirit stones on the walls around the hall were also constantly flying away. The pillars of the hall, which were as thick as several people embracing, collapsed with a loud crash. Great! Chu Zhetian seemed to get more excited as he fought, and intense fighting spirits surged in his eyes. This kind of hard-hitting, fist-to-fist fight seemed to make him extremely enjoy. Roar! Roar! However, the python-robed corpse king roared repeatedly, and the corpse chi on his body was constantly surging. Seeing that the huge coffin was gradually being moved away by Mo Qingfei and the others, this fierce creature became even more frenzied. In its subconscious, the main tomb chamber was a place that it absolutely wouldn't allow others to enter. Inside, it seemed, was something it cared about more than anything. But it was blocked by Chu Zhetian and couldn't take a single step across the thunder pond. After a full time it takes for an incense stick to burn. With the continuous fighting between Chu Zhetian and the python-robed corpse king, Mo Qingfei and Mo Xiong finally used their combined strength to move the huge coffin, which weighed 10,000,000 jin, 3 meters, revealing a circular recess on the top of the temple door. On the two temple doors were a dragon and a phoenix respectively. The dragon's mouth and the phoenix's beak faced each other, as if they were inseparable. And that recess was right in the middle of the two. Qingfei quickly put the dragon and phoenix blood pearl in. Mo Xiong urged anxiously. In fact, he didn't need to urge her. Mo Qingfei already had a fist-sized, blood-red, translucent bead in her hand. The next second, she directly embedded it into the recess on the door. Boom! The temple door then slowly opened. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as it opened to a gap large enough for one person to pass through, Mo Qingfei and Mo Xiong turned into two shadows and flashed inside. After entering, Mo Xiong glanced at the wall behind the door and was about to go over and turn the mechanism to reclose the temple door. After the group of great gene remnants fell into the hands of the Mo Feather Sect, they enjoyed a session of special care, and they laid out all the information about the things in this Golden Cicada secret realm. So for the mechanisms and arrangements here, Imo Xiong didn't say he knew like the back of his hand, but he also had a good idea in his mind. Uncle Xiong, Nyoda is still outside. Do we need to let him in and then close the door? At this moment, Imo Qingfei instinctively called out. Hearing this, Imo Xiong snorted coldly and rebuked. Qingfei, you're young and have already become muddle-headed, haven't you? That dog thief killed Qingzhou and the Imo Feather Guards, and you're still going to help him? This protector elder was also a little angry. His own favored daughter had amazing talent, but her character was too pure. It could even be said, a saint. I just want to kill him with my own hands. If he dies in the hands of the corpse king outside, wouldn't that be cheap for him? Imo Qingfei's expression changed a few times, then she bit her lip and said, It couldn't be better if he can be killed by the corpse king. Imo Xiong said through gritted teeth. The next second, without any hesitation, he directly turned the mechanism behind the door. Boom. So, the temple door, which had only opened halfway, slowly closed again. The Imo Feather Sect's dog thieves are really not decent, are they? I helped you block the corpse king, but you want to shut me out? Dream on. Ha 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 ha. Just at this moment, accompanied by a burst of laughter, Chu Zhetian punched the python-robed corpse king back and quickly rushed towards the main tomb chamber. The python-robed corpse king followed closely behind. With the speed of the two, they would definitely rush in before the temple door was completely closed. Uncle Xiong, what should we do? A hint of panic appeared on Imo Qingfei's delicate face. Let him die. What else can we do? Imo Xiong's eyes revealed a hint of ruthlessness and madness. The next second, he directly slapped out a palm. A palm print shot out and directly hit the other black coffin in the main tomb chamber. That coffin contained the female corpse king. Chapter 65. This move, I'm giving it to you, and also to myself. Uncle Xiong, you're... Imo Qingfei was shocked. Imo Xiong's actions were clearly meant to wake up the female corpse king as well. This dog thief, a single corpse king probably can't kill him. Then add another corpse king. It's best if they can fight to the death. Imo Xiong said maliciously. Then what do we do? Imo Qingfei's eyebrows furrowed tightly. It seemed that the corpse king's intelligence wasn't low. After being awakened, it wouldn't necessarily attack anyone. Don't forget, the sect master gave you that life-saving trump card when you left the sect. Imo Xiong reminded her quickly. Imo Qingfei, hearing this, immediately reacted. She quickly took out a spiritual talisman from her spatial treasure. Talismans, just like magic treasures and weapons, were also an external means that cultivators could use. And the spiritual talisman that Imo Qingfei took out was a concealing breath talisman, extremely precious heaven-grade spiritual talisman. Not only could it allow cultivators to conceal their figures, but even their breath would disappear. This object was precisely the life-saving means that the Imo Feather Sect master had specially prepared for Imo Qingfei before she left the sect. After all, it would be a huge loss for the Imo Feather Sect if such a genius were to perish outside. Sizzle. Imo Qingfei didn't hesitate and directly tore the spiritual talisman. Following this, her and Imo Xiong's figures gradually disappeared. Boom. It could be seen that after being alarmed, a figure also emerged from the huge coffin in the main tomb chamber. The other party was also wearing a luxurious robe and maintained the appearance of her lifetime. Her facial features were exquisite and peerless. It was obvious that she was also a beauty of unparalleled beauty before her death. But now, her skin was as black as ink, her eyes were eerily green, and her body was filled with corpse qi. It made her feel no sense of beauty at all. Whoosh, whoosh. And just at this moment, Chu Zhetian and the python-robed corpse king also rushed in one after another. Roar. The female corpse king roared, carrying a violent aura, and rushed out. For a moment, the targets of the two corpse kings were, as expected, Chu Zhetian. They didn't notice at all that there were still two people in the tomb chamber. Imo Qingfei and Imo Xiong hid in the corner of the tomb chamber and watched this human corpse battle from afar. What others couldn't see was that Imo Qingfei's expression seemed to be tinged with a bit of conflict, and Imo Xiong's face was full of cold smiles. It had to be said that compared to Imo Qingzhou, this protector elder was more like a venomous snake. The former was merely narrow-minded and arrogant, but lacked some scheming, and Imo Xiong was truly sinister and ruthless. This move of luring corpses to kill was played very cleverly, but next, Imo Qingfei's expression became increasingly conflicted, and the cold smile on Imo Xiong's face gradually turned into deep shock and seriousness. Because Chu Zhetian fought against the two great corpse kings alone and still wasn't at a disadvantage. Boom. It could be seen that he swept out with one leg and directly kicked the female corpse king out. The latter Chang'e in the wall of the main tomb chamber. Her entire body's corpse chi was surging, as if it was about to be dispersed. The chest that was kicked was even dented a few points. It was obvious that the female corpse king's strength was much weaker than the python-robed corpse king, perhaps only equivalent to the 8th stage of the Golden Core. Facing Chu Zhetian at this moment, it seemed it wasn't enough. Even though Chu Zhetian's chi refining realm strength was only at the 1st stage of the Golden Core, his physical body was extremely strong. Through the Supreme Tao Book and the heavenly swallowing saint physique, the spiritual power he refined was also much more condensed and pure than that of ordinary cultivators, and his power naturally rose with the tide. Coupled with the battle experience in his memory and all kinds of powerful martial skills, combined with all kinds of factors, Chu Zhetian's strength was unmatched below the nascent soul realm. Boom, boom, boom. For a moment, with the battle of one person and two corpses, the entire main tomb chamber was shaking, as if it would collapse at any moment. Finally, after dozens of collisions, great. But you two monsters, that's all there is to it. I'll free you both. As the words fell, Chu Zhetian punched the female corpse king's head again. The head was the most fatal part of a corpse demon. Bang! Accompanied by a sound like a watermelon bursting, the female corpse king's head was directly smashed by this punch. So, she fell on the spot. Roar! 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 The python-robed corpse king, seeing this, immediately emitted roars that shook the heavens. Among them was deep sorrow and indignation. It launched an unprecedentedly crazy attack towards Chu Zhetian. After Chu Zhetian exchanged hard blows with it several times, he finally took out the earth-grade sword he got from Imo Qingzhou. Cut the heavens. Become a corpse king and still have so much affection for your wife? I, in the past, was as deeply in love as you are. So, I'm giving you the move Dragon Binding Chains, and I'm also giving it to the me of the past. Buzz. Chu Zhetian's eyes emitted a ray of incomparably sharp light. His lower abdomen dantian suddenly burst with golden light. The golden core that had just condensed actually began to burn like a sun. In the blink of an eye, it shrunk by a third. Along with this, the spiritual power in Chu Zhetian's body surged wildly as if it was boiling, and then quickly poured into the cut the heavens sword in his hand. Ding, ding, ding. It could be seen that under this crazy infusion of spiritual power, this earth-grade sword seemed unable to bear it. Accompanied by a crisp sound, cracks appeared on the sword. At the same time, a 5-clawed golden dragon also wound around the cut the heavens sword. This golden dragon was condensed from the powerful and pure spiritual power in Chu Zhetian's body, but it was like a living creature, emitting a faint dragon's might. On its body were strands of golden chains, as if it was tightly imprisoned. However, in the next second, along with Chu Zhetian's sword swing, Ao! Chong! 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 A dragon's roar rang out, mixed with the sound of chains breaking. The 5-clawed golden dragon broke free directly, carrying an incredibly terrifying power, and swept towards the python-robed corpse king. Divine ability. Dragon binding chains. Chu Zhetian thought to himself coldly. Boom. The 5-clawed golden dragon crashed into the corpse king, and the latter flew out directly. In the air, its head along with its entire upper body were actually turned into dust. Ding, 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 ding. And after losing the infusion of spiritual power, the cut-the-heavens sword in Chu Zhetian's hand also completely couldn't hold on. It turned into pieces of metal and fell to the ground. Divine ability appears. Corpse King is destroyed. Even an Earth-grade magic sword was directly scrapped due to the strain. Old friend, you're still so fierce. Chu Zhetian's mouth curled up and his eyes sparkled. Although a large amount of spiritual power was lost, his spirit became extremely excited. But just at this moment, his eyes suddenly sharpened. Buzz. Two golden sabers appeared, as if out of thin air. Carrying a deadly killing intent, they smashed towards Chu Zhetian's head. It was Imo Xiong, who had been hiding and had launched a sneak attack. He had seized the opportunity when Chu Zhetian had just used a divine ability to launch an ambush. This blow, Imo Xiong used his most powerful skill of his life. He was determined to severely injure, or even directly kill, Chu Zhetian, because he also knew that he only had this one chance. Chapter 66. Nyoda, we will meet again. Buzz. Facing Imo Xiong's fatal blow, Chu Zhetian seemed to have been prepared long ago, and the golden core in his body burst with light again. That powerful spiritual power instantly condensed into a layer of golden shield. Although the shield was made of spiritual power, it shimmered with a metallic luster, carrying an indescribable golden texture. Divine ability. Undying Golden Bell. If the previous Dragon-Binding Chains was a killing divine ability, then the Undying Golden Bell was a defensive divine ability that Chu Zhetian had mastered. Clang. Accompanied by a sharp metallic collision sound, the double sabers struck the Undying Golden Bell, but it only deformed and twisted a little. Bang! Following this, a fist like a cannon slammed heavily into Imo Xiong's chest. Imo Xiong's entire person immediately flew out. Along the way in the air, he spewed out a large amount of blood mist. You thought I forgot about you, you old dog hiding in the shadows? You thought I wouldn't guard against you? Chu Zhetian turned his head, his eyes full of disdain and mockery. Divine ability? You actually mastered a divine ability in the Golden Core realm? You're not a village bumpkin Nyodo at all. Who are you? After Imo Xiong vomited another mouthful of blood, he stared at Chu Zhetian with shock and fear and asked, "The dead don't need to know so much." Chu Zhetian's voice was cold, and his killing intent was fierce as he walked towards Imo Xiong. Whoosh! Just at this moment, Imo Qingfei's exquisitely beautiful figure also broke the invisibility state and stood in front of Imo Xiong. Nyoda, stop! She pointed her sword at Chu Zhetian. Looking at this wolf in sheep's clothing and thinking that she had previously naively protected the other party, Imo Qingfei revealed a touch of self-mockery and hatred. So, the village bumpkin, who trembled at the sight of corpse demons and hid behind me, is actually an existence comparable to a nascent soul expert. Killing Imo Feather Sect's experts is like cutting vegetables and melons. Hee, are you going to kill me now? Chu Zhetian's expression moved slightly and said indifferently, Miss Imo, you can't blame me. Besides you, don't the other people in your Imo Feather Sect also regard my life as cheap as grass? The cultivation world is filled with intrigue and bloody slaughter. Today, consider me giving you a lesson. If this experience can make you remember, it might save your life in the future. Speaking of which, Chu Zhetian remembered a piece of news he had heard in his previous life. Imo Qingfei, this peerless genius of the Imo Feather Sect, had become a nascent soul great expert at less than 25 years old. But less than 3 years later, she perished in a normal training session. Chu Zhetian was not very clear about the details. I'm afraid it had something to do with her innocence. It was truly regrettable that such a genius was gone. The next second, Chu Zhetian composed himself, and his tone became stern. I don't want to kill you. Get out of the way. Imo Qingfei, hearing this, was stunned. And Imo Xiong, clutching his chest, said urgently, Qingfei, since he doesn't kill you, then go. Don't worry about me. Imo Qingfei was resolute and stabbed her sword towards Chu Zhetian. If you want to kill my Uncle Xiong, you must step over my corpse first. Imo Xiong, as her protector, was also considered half her teacher. She would never disregard the other party's life or death. Imo Xiong, seeing this, also gritted his teeth. After taking a healing elixir, regardless of his injuries, he joined hands with Imo Qingfei and attacked Chu Zhetian. Clang, clang, clang. After a few exchanges, Imo Qingfei was punched and sent flying by Chu Zhetian. After landing, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and she was already seriously injured. The Golden Core Stage 2 strength made her undefeated among her peers. But in front of Chu Zhetian today, it was as if she was unable to withstand a single blow. Chu Zhetian glanced at her coldly, and then attacked Imo Xiong with all his might. In less than 10 breaths, Imo Xiong's entire body collapsed to the ground like a broken sack. His internal organs were already shattered. The Golden Core Stage 6 expert had fallen here. Following this, the flesh essence in his corpse was automatically absorbed by the blood wheel eye. At this moment, Chu Zhetian only felt another incomparably violent stream of heat surging into his body. And then, it spread to his entire body, nourishing muscles, strengthening bones, nourishing internal organs. His already incomparably strong physical body, on the original basis, had actually increased by a full 3/10, an increase of 800,000 gene of physical strength. Killing a Golden Core Stage 8 expert, the increase is actually so great. My physical body cultivation realm has just broken through the Golden Body Stage, and it feels like I'm not far from the next realm, crushing mountains, right? Chu Zhetian thought to himself. Uncle Xiong. At this moment, a cry of grief and indignation rang out. Imo Qingfei, ignoring her serious injuries, rushed to Imo Xiong's corpse. The next second, her beautiful eyes carried a deep hatred and stared fixedly at Chu Zhetian. Bastard! Come on, my life is here too. Chu Zhetian's face was expressionless. I don't want your life, but I want the opportunities here. You should know how to get out. Get lost. Hearing this, Imo Qingfei's face changed repeatedly. She wanted to fight Chu Zhetian to the death, but she knew that she was no match for him at all. Uncle Xiong was already dead, and it was meaningless for her to stay here. As for the opportunity, how could she possibly snatch it from Chu Zhetian? Finally, she looked at Chu Zhetian one last time. After putting Imo Xiong's corpse into her spatial treasure, she walked towards a corner of the main tomb chamber. There was a smooth stone wall. It was the exit of this golden cicada secret realm. Imo Qingfei stretched out her hand and pressed it against it, infusing spiritual power into it. The stone wall immediately emitted a soft, ethereal light and turned into a void circle. Nyoda, we will definitely meet again. Next time, I will definitely tear you to pieces and avenge Uncle Xiong and senior brother. Before leaving, Imo Qingfei looked at Chu Zhetian again and said through gritted teeth. Chu Zhetian nodded. Next time, I won't show you any mercy. Imo Qingfei smiled mockingly, and then with a flash, entered the void circle. After the other party left, Chu Zhetian breathed a sigh of relief. Not killing Imo Qingfei was a way of repaying the kindness of her protecting him when they first met. But since they were enemies and not friends, next time they met, he would naturally kill her. Of course, that's if she can recognize me. I am now Nyoda, not Chu Zhetian. Thinking this, a playful smile appeared on the corner of Chu Zhetian's mouth. The next second, with an expectant look, he walked towards the already dead python-robed corpse king. After the corpse chi in its body dissipated, the flesh and skin on this corpse king's body had turned into ashes. At this moment, only a skeleton remained. To be exact, it should be half a skeleton, because its upper body had been blasted into pieces by the dragon-binding chains. Looking closely, at its original navel, there was a golden cicada, the size of a fingernail. And at the lower abdomen dantian, there was a corpse king's nascent soul. The same life golden cicada curse and the corpse king's nascent soul are all mine. Looking at these two treasures, Chu Zhetian's eyes brightened, and he was filled with joy. The dust had settled. The crisis had been eliminated. It was finally time to reap the rewards. Chapter 67. A huge surprise. Looking at the golden cicada, which had fallen into dormancy within the Corpse King, but still retained its activity, Chu Zhetian's eyes revealed a look of satisfaction. With this same life golden cicada curse, Yueyue and I can become bound by the same life. As long as we, father and daughter, don't die at the same time, we will both survive. Thinking about adding such a safeguard to his daughter's life, a smile appeared on Chu Zhetian's face. Then he looked at the Corpse King's nascent soul. This object was the nascent soul Dantian, condensed by the Corpse King before his death. It now appeared in the form of a miniature infant, but it was already completely black and tainted with corpse poison. From a distance, it seemed that he could feel a touch of spirituality from this miniature infant. It was by virtue of this Corpse King's nascent soul that the male and female owners of this ancient tomb, after thousands of years after their deaths, could gradually transform into Corpse Kings and possess considerable intelligence. As long as the corpse poison on it was removed, and it was refined into the body and merged with his own Dantian, he could break through to the nascent soul realm. The best thing about this golden cicada secret realm is that, no matter whether it's the same life golden cicada curse or the Corpse King's nascent soul, they both come in pairs. The same life golden cicada curse goes without saying. It's definitely for Yueyue and me. As for this Corpse King's nascent soul, I can refine one for myself, and the other one can be given to great-grandfather. Thinking of the second elder Su Beiwang's protection of him, and the scene in his previous life where he risked his life to save him, Chu Zhetian was filled with gratitude, admiration, and closeness towards this old man. He didn't feel the slightest heartache to give such a treasure to this great-grandfather. It was a kind of paternal love from an elder that he, as an orphan, had never experienced. Moreover, his great-grandfather's strength had also reached the 8th stage of the Golden Core. He was the most suitable candidate to break through to the nascent soul realm in a short period of time. And Sect Master Yushui Han was only at the 6th stage of the Golden Core, so she was a bit lacking. As for Yu Chaolu, she had just broken through to the Foundation Establishment realm, so there was even less to consider. Next, after putting the two same-life golden cicada curses and the Corpse King's nascent souls into the storage ring, Chu Zhetian's gaze once again focused on the huge coffin in the main tomb chamber. There were also two such huge coffins. Chu Zhetian went over and moved the one in the main tomb chamber, just like the one in the Guardian Hall outside. It weighed 10 million jin. Even with Chu Zhetian's current strength, it was incredibly difficult to move. It was even harder than ascending to the heavens to lift it. The volume is only this big, but the weight is so exaggerated. And it's incredibly cold. It can gather a large amount of Xianxia energy. Thinking of this, Chu Zhetian's expression tightened, and his pupils shrank. It could be seen that a large amount of Xianxia energy had gathered around the black coffin. It was so dense that it had turned into strands of black mist, like black snakes constantly slithering and lingering. The material used to make this coffin, is it possibly the legendary Tai Demon Gold? Thinking of this possibility, his heart beat a few times faster. The look in his eyes, as he looked at the black coffin, revealed a touch of greed and excitement. Tai Demon Gold was the legendary, immortal grade, or not only was its density incredibly terrifying, a grain the size of a fingernail would weigh over 1,000 jin, but it was also indestructible. Even a heavenly immortal great expert, attacking with all their might, wouldn't be able to destroy it. If it was refined into a divine weapon or magic treasure using a special refining method and adding specific materials, the quality would at least reach the level of an immortal artifact embryo. And because Tai Demon Gold possessed the characteristic of absorbing Xianxia, it could also bear a spirit of the weapon, and even generate a spirit of the weapon itself. In this way, this immortal artifact embryo would eventually be able to go one step further and become a true immortal artifact, and even a divine artifact. With Chu Zhetian's current strength, the Earth grade cut the heaven's sword wasn't enough to support his battles, and the empty cracking sword was even more insufficient. It was time to refine a divine weapon sword of immortal grade or above, and this Tine Demon Gold was the excellent main material for refining weapons. Right. The ability of this coffin made of Tine Demon Gold to gather Xianxia energy seems even more exaggerated. Perhaps I can give the Dark Knight Palace a surprise? After the idea arose, Chu Zhetian's eyes revealed a touch of excitement and madness. As far as he knew, the greatest threat to the Dark Knight Palace was not actually their nascent soul realm evil ancestor, but the incredibly terrifying amulet buried under their headquarters, Dark Knight Demon Palace. That amulet was refined using 10,000 living souls, and it could attract the Xianxia of heaven and earth, forming an extremely terrifying, heavenly great array. A strong person at the void penetration realm would have to perish if they were trapped in it. Even the soul would be devoured and eaten by the endless Xianxia, turning into the nourishment of the terrifying amulet. Before, I was always extremely wary of this amulet. But now, if these two coffins are smashed into the heavenly great array, I wonder what the effect would be? Chu Zhetian's thoughts turned, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise. Excited, he then moved his mind and wanted to put the black coffin into his storage ring. However, in the next second, his face sank. He found that the storage ring couldn't take this thing at all. Then, he tried to take out several other spatial magic treasures separately. There was a storage ring, a void belt, a storage gourd, and so on. These spatial magic treasures were all spoils of war that Chu Zhetian had obtained by killing people before. They belonged to the three great shamans of the Dark Knight Palace, Missouri Laodao, Imo Qingchen, and Imo Qingzhou. However, even if the quality of these spatial magic treasures was better than his own storage ring, they also couldn't hold the black coffin. No wonder, I only heard that Imo Qingfei obtained the same life golden cicada curse and the Corpse King's nascent soul in my previous life, but didn't mention a word about this black coffin. It seems that it's impossible to take it out. Am I also going to enter the treasure mountain and return empty-handed? Chu Zhetian's eyebrows furrowed tightly, and his heart was full of unwillingness. Tug, tug. But just at this moment, he only felt that the area on his forehead twitched violently again. The blood wheel eye is reacting again. Could it be? When he first saw the coffin in the hall outside, the blood wheel eye had twitched violently. This time, it was even more so. This made Chu Zhetian's heart move. In the next second, a vertical eye appeared on his forehead. The vertical eye was crimson and terrifying, and there was a blood-colored vortex constantly rotating in the eyeball. It looked eerie and mysterious. Next, Chu Zhetian used his vertical eye to stare at the black coffin. Just like before, using the blood wheel eye to absorb the spiritual energy from pills and treasures, he tried to absorb this black coffin. Buzz. A surprising scene appeared. This black coffin actually left the ground directly, instantly shrinking to the size of a grain of sand, and then was absorbed into the blood wheel eye. It really works. The blood wheel eye is truly wonderfully useful, but I need to explore it gradually myself. Next, there was nothing more to say. Chu Zhetian opened the door of the main tomb chamber again, and also took the black coffin outside into the blood-colored vortex. Then, with a thought, his consciousness also entered the blood-colored vortex, that is, the burial god blood domain. Now, he had become the master of this space. So his consciousness was like the will of the master here, and observed and perceived everything from a god's point of view. He saw that the two black coffins were lying next to a huge corpse of a god and demon, appearing incredibly small. The burial god blood domain seems to be a small world of its own. But since I have become the master of this burial god blood domain, why can't I detect the existence of the world-slaughtering great god? Chu Zhetian was secretly puzzled. Thinking of the other party's handiwork of fusing the bloodlines of 10,000 races to create this heavenly swallowing saint physique for himself, his heart was agitated. He just wanted to communicate more with such a powerful being. However, he couldn't perceive any of the other party's aura at all. He wondered where this world-slaughtering great god was hiding and sleeping? Next, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and sat down cross-legged in a solemn manner. When I break through to the nascent soul realm, that will be the day of my return. Yeah, wait for Daddy. At this time, within the burial god blood domain, as Chu Zhetian's consciousness left this blood-colored world, a huge face appeared in the sky. Those two giant eyes emitted incredibly evil light and stared at the two black coffins. Chapter 68. Does this girl have something to do with Zhetian? Golden Rainbow Mountain Range. In a valley, leaving the exit of the Golden Cicada secret realm, Mo Qingfei was randomly teleported here. Humph. After coming out, she let out a muffled groan again, and a streak of blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Her exquisitely beautiful face was completely devoid of color at the moment and even had a hint of black qi. It had to be said that Chu Zhetian really didn't know how to cherish the beautiful. He had only estimated that he wouldn't kill the other person. Even for not letting this little girl interfere with killing Mo Xiong, he was merciless in wounding her. It directly caused Mo Qingfei's serious injury. In addition, all her comrades had been buried in the secret realm, and she was also grieved in spirit. Now she could be described as both body and mind exhausted. In this way, it was adding insult to injury. Don't forget, she had also inhaled a large amount of corpse qi in the secret realm. In her prime condition, that bit of corpse qi wouldn't have much of an effect, as long as she used spiritual power to protect her internal organs, to prevent them from being invaded, and then slowly forced it out of her body. But with Mo Qingfei's current condition, she couldn't suppress the spread of the corpse poison in her body at all. Even taking a great return pill made her feel as if she was about to faint at any moment. Biting the tip of her tongue, she forced herself to stand up and walked out of the valley, her steps unsteady. With my current condition, let alone meeting other cultivators, even if I meet some jackals and beasts, I'm afraid the outcome would be more bad than good. Moreover, I feel that my body is gradually being invaded by the corpse poison. Am I, Mo Qingfei, also going to turn into a disgusting corpse demon? Mo Qingfei bit her lip, relying on her feeling to go to the pass. She still didn't know that Mo Laodao and Mo Qingchen were also dead, and she was still thinking of meeting up with them. Ao Wu. However, she feared what she had feared. Accompanied by a low whimper, several pairs of green eyes appeared in the darkness. They were a group of wolves. A touch of unwillingness and despair appeared on Mo Qingfei's pale face. Is this fate? Nyoda. It seems I won't have the chance to tear you to pieces, but I won't let you go even as a ghost. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Next, a group of wolves darted around, quickly surrounding Mo Qingfei. Their green eyes stared at Mo Qingfei, filled with a thirst for killing and blood. They were ready to attack at any moment. Zhetian, where are you? Smelly boy, come out for your great-grandfather. But just at this moment, a series of hurried shouts rang out in the valley. The sound contained a strong urgency and worry, and it seemed to be approaching quickly from this direction. Ao Wu. Hearing the sound, the wolf pack all turned their heads to look in the direction from which the sound was coming. Whoosh! The next second, a palm print emitting white light quickly came and directly slapped a wolf into blood mist. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. For a moment, the wolf pack felt a fatal crisis and fled quickly, with their tails between their legs. A bunch of beasts. Looking for death. Su Beiwang's eyes were red, and he shouted in a low, cold voice. The person who came was precisely this second elder of the Tai Xu Sect. After receiving the news of Chu Zhetian's disappearance, this old man really rushed to the vicinity of Golden Rainbow City overnight and searched for the other party's whereabouts in person. He wanted to see the person alive and the corpse dead. Pong, pong. Next, Su Beiwang slapped out a few more palms, and several wolves turned into minced meat. Thinking that if Zhetian really had some sort of accident, their corpses might even be eaten by these beasts, Su Beiwang's heart was filled with a strong killing intent. The next second, his tiger eyes narrowed, and he immediately discovered Imo Qingfei, who was standing there, tottering. Where did this little girl come from? This is injured? Su Beiwang said to himself and ran over in 3 steps. Little girl, why are you wandering alone in this deep mountain and old forest in the middle of the night? Have you seen my great-grandson Zhetian? He sized up Imo Qingfei a few times, and then asked with an expectant look, Great-grandson Zhetian, who is it? I haven't seen. Senior. Imo Qingfei shook her head. However, before she could finish speaking, she felt her vision go black. Then she lost consciousness and fell forward with her head down. Su Beiwang was startled and quickly went to support the other party. The moment he touched Imo Qingfei, Su Beiwang's eyes flashed with sharp light. There are spiritual power fluctuations? This little girl is also a cultivator. And she's a golden core? It's just that she's seriously injured, and the spiritual power in her body is in chaos. And why is there an aura that's emanating from a dead corpse? Su Beiwang probed and found out the strength realm of Imo Qingfei, and immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Then, it seemed he had thought of something, and quickly carried Imo Qingfei towards the past stronghold. This little girl was young, and had reached the golden core realm. What kind of monster was this? The most important thing was, why was she seriously injured? Did it have anything to do with Zhetian's disappearance? Here, Su Beiwang had rushed from Tai Xu Sect to Golden Rainbow City overnight. And on the other side, Yu Chaolu and Zhang Dalai also received a recall order and returned to the sect overnight. The next day, in the morning, Yu Chaolu and the two, who had hurried back to the sect in the dead of night, first returned to the Vermilion Bird Peak. In the Peak Lord's mansion, the atmosphere here was extremely oppressive. Master, is it true that senior brother Chu is missing? Miao Yume asked, sobbing. She had been seriously injured by the people of the White Tiger Peak yesterday, and her face was still pale now. Zhang Wenxuan and Tang Yitai also showed expressions that they couldn't accept, and Zhang Dalai stood to the side, drooping his head, and his face was ashen. Master, senior brother, what exactly happened? Did my junior brother really encounter the great shamans of the Dark Knight Palace? And Master, I heard that you're going to marry into the Heavenly Saber Sect? Is that all true? For them and all the disciples of the Vermilion Bird Peak, these 2 days could be called a series of bad news. Now, it had spread throughout the Tai Xu Sect. Because of the death of Zhong Wanlin, the great elder of the Heavenly Saber Sect came to question them. The Vermilion Bird Peak. Master, Yu Chaolu, in order to appease the other party's anger and to protect her disciple Chu Zhetian, would marry the great elder of the Heavenly Saber Sect as a concubine. And Chu Zhetian, the first genius of the Tai Xu Sect, encountered 3 Foundation Establishment Realm Great Shamans in Golden Rainbow City. Now, he was of unknown life or death, and it was more bad than good. So, even though no one had specifically informed Miao Yume and the others, all 3 of them already knew. Why are you all wearing such long faces? Don't worry. Marrying into the Heavenly Saber Sect is just an expedient measure. As for your senior brother Chu, I believe he will definitely come back. Yu Chaolu was displeased and reprimanded her few direct disciples. At the end, her tone and expression seemed to be filled with a touch of sadness and worry. It was as if she was only comforting her disciples and also comforting herself. To put on a complete act, even though Yu Chaolu knew that this was Chu Zhetian's arrangement and she wasn't too worried about the other party, she couldn't show it. After all, there were 2 big ghosts in the sect who were always watching. Really, Master? Are you not just comforting us? Hearing this, Miao Yume wiped away her tears and asked. Zhang Wenxuan and Tang Yitai also looked at Yu Chaolu expectantly, as if to confirm something. However, just at this moment, a cold, harsh voice, tinged with gloating, rang out. Your master is of course just comforting you. She is definitely going to marry the great elder of the Heavenly Saber Sect. As for Chu Zhetian, he is definitely going to die. Looking in the direction of the sound, a group of people walked into the hall of the Peak Lord's mansion. The leader was precisely by Pengkuan, who was temporarily serving as the White Tiger Peak Master. Peak Master Yu, Zhang Dalai, come with me. The sect master and a few of the elders want to question you too. Chapter 69. Reduced to Idiocy. Tai Xu Sect, Inside Hall. After being brought in, Yu Chaolu and Zhang Dalai were separated and taken into two interrogation chambers. In Yu Chaolu's chamber, she was questioned by Sect Master Yu Shuihan, the third elder, the fifth elder, and the hall master of the Inside Hall. They meticulously questioned her about their journey to Golden Rainbow City. In the room where Zhang Dalai was held, the first elder, Bai Changqing, the fourth elder, Jianlian, and the sixth and seventh elders sat there with solemn expressions. Their eyes, fixed on Zhang Dalai, were incredibly sharp. Bai Changqing and Jianlian, in particular, seemed to be looking at a suspect. Zhang Dalai, tell us in detail about your journey to Golden Rainbow City and everything that happened, Bai Changqing said sternly after Zhang Dalai had offered his respects to the elders. Remember, don't omit any details. Yes, first elder. Zhang Dalai didn't dare to delay and began recounting the whole trip from beginning to end. After a long pause, according to your account, you didn't follow your master and Chu Zhetian into Golden Rainbow City? Bai Changqing asked coldly. Instead, you were stationed outside the city with the army? Yes, elder. Zhang Dalai nodded. The sixth and seventh elders were clearly deep in thought. Bai Changqing and Jianlian exchanged a look. In other words, you weren't present when Chu Zhetian encountered the Grand Witch of the Nightshade Palace? You have no idea how he disappeared. Bai Changqing questioned, his voice heavy. Correct. The next time I saw my master, she seemed completely distraught and told me to send people to search for Chu Shidi's whereabouts. Zhang Dalai, a man of straightforward character, replied honestly, nodding his head. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Changqing gave Jianlian a look. The latter immediately snorted coldly, her tone becoming incredibly severe. Zhang Dalai, how can you prove that everything you've said is true? We now suspect you are in league with the Nightshade Palace. We have decided to search your soul. Either prove your innocence, or expose you as a Nightshade Palace spy. Hearing this, Zhang Dalai was utterly stunned. Fourth elder, what are you saying? How could I be a Nightshade Palace spy? I, Zhang Dalai, swear to heaven, I am loyal to the sect, with no ulterior motives. At this point, Bai Changqing said coldly, is that so? If I remember correctly, you once risked your life to protect Chu Yueyue, that demon seed. Now, why were you so selflessly protective, considering you had only just met that child? And on this journey to Golden Rainbow City, why didn't you follow your master and Chu Zhetian into the city? Could it be you knew in advance that 3 core formation stage Grand Witches were ambushed within Golden Rainbow City? Zhang Dalai's face was filled with an innocent expression. Elder, my master arranged for me to be stationed outside the city. How could I have known about the ambush inside? If I had known, I would have stopped Master and Chu Shidi at any cost. He hadn't overthought things. He was simply trying his best to prove his innocence. This naturally pure and kind man still expressed regret over not being able to stop Chu Shidi from entering the city. How can we trust your empty words? Jianlian said righteously. The Nightshade Palace ambushed 3 Grand Witches in Golden Rainbow City. It's likely they are plotting a shocking conspiracy that could overthrow our Tai Xu Sect. This matter is of great importance. We can't afford any luck. If you have nothing to hide, then accept the soul search with sincerity. Swish. In the next second, before Zhang Dalai could react, Jianlian immediately made her move and subdued him. With a palm strike to his neck, Zhang Dalai's eyes rolled back, and he lost consciousness. As the leading disciple of the Vermilion Bird Peak, his strength was the greatest amongst Yu Chaolu's direct disciples. But he was only at the 8th level of the postnatal realm. He had no chance to resist the Golden Core 9th level Jianlian. In the next instant, Jianlian's fingers formed a claw, emitting a soul-stirring energy, and seized the crown of Zhang Dalai's head. At the same time, her eyes also glowed with a silver light, as though covering her pupils. This 4th elder was proficient in the soul-searching technique. Bai Changqing watched the scene with a blank expression. The 6th and 7th elders sat there calmly, not interfering. As elders, they didn't care about an ordinary, direct disciple. For safety's sake, the soul search was performed. Ugh. Ah. Then, as the soul search continued, Zhang Dalai, even in his unconscious state, let out a series of agonizing screams. The features of his honest and simple face became distorted. Soul searching was a truly vicious method. It was a direct pain coming from the soul itself. The person being searched would feel as if their 3 souls and 7 spirits were being stripped apart, thread by thread. For a while, the screams echoed repeatedly in the interrogation chamber. Half an hour later, Yu Chaolu walked out of the interrogation chamber. "You can go back now," Sect Master Yu Shuihan said. "What about Dalai? Hasn't he finished being questioned yet?" "I'll wait for him to go back together," Yu Chaolu said lightly. Hearing this, the faces of Yu Shuihan, the 3rd elder, and the 5th elder showed a hint of awkwardness. Regarding Ji Yinlian's decision to search Zhang Dalai's soul, the sect's absolute high-level executives had already approved it. After all, the sudden appearance of 3 grand witches in Golden Rainbow City required caution. To get to the bottom of everything, sacrificing a direct disciple was a price. That was insignificant. Furthermore, it was just a soul search. As long as Zhang Dalai could endure it, it wouldn't be considered a sacrifice. Perhaps he has already been questioned. He's already gone back ahead of you. Don't worry about him, just go. Yu Shuihan's eyes flickered slightly, and he waved his hand. Yu Chaolu frowned, as if she sensed something amiss. How could Dalai possibly leave without her, his master? Just then, the door to another interrogation chamber opened. However, only Bai Changqing and the other 3 elders emerged. Heh. It hurts. So painful. Ah. Ha 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 ha. As the door opened, Yu Chaolu distinctly heard all kinds of strange sounds coming from inside the chamber. The sounds were sometimes foolish laughter, sometimes agonizing moans, and sometimes mournful cries. Yu Chaolu's face changed, and she rushed inside, taking 3 steps at a time. When she saw the scene inside, her beautiful eyes instantly reddened. In the chamber, Zhang Dalai was lying on the floor, still in an unclear state of consciousness. And from his condition, his consciousness might never become clear again. His features, including his entire body, were still convulsing. It was as if the pain hadn't subsided yet. He was still spitting white foam from his mouth, and under him, there was a puddle of liquid, emitting a nauseating stench. Dalai, what happened to you? Yu Chaolu, disregarding the stench, ran to Zhang Dalai's side, worriedly checking on the condition of her senior disciple. She couldn't imagine what her disciple had experienced inside. In the next second, she turned her head abruptly and stared coldly at Ji Yinlian. 4th elder, did you search my disciple's soul? Chapter 70. Are they the same person? That's right. We suspected that he was in collusion with the Nightshade Palace. To ascertain the truth, we searched his soul. Ji Yinlian nodded, saying indifferently. Yu Chaolu asked mockingly, so it's over now? Does my disciple have a connection with the Nightshade Palace? Hearing this, Ji Yinlian did not reply, but instead said with even more detachment, we, the elders, are also acting in the best interest of the sect. We are not obligated to explain or account for anything to you. Besides, don't forget that you're about to marry into the Heavenly Sword Sect. I will find a way to heal him. You don't need to worry about it. Bai Changqing also said with a blank face, Peak Master Yu, step back. You should prepare well to marry into the Heavenly Sword Sect and secure another few decades of stability for our sect. That is what you should consider now. Yu Chaolu glanced again at Zhang Dalai, who was unconscious and reduced to an idiot, and then she scanned Bai Changqing and Ji Yinlian a few times. A deep sense of grief and hatred arose within her heart. Zhang Dalai was her senior direct disciple. He was an orphan who had followed her since childhood. Their relationship was that of master and disciple, but how different was it from that of mother and son? Now, he had been tortured like this. Ji Yinlian repeatedly said that she would find a way to heal him. But what the soul search had caused was an injury to his soul. How could it be so easy to recover? At this moment, Yu Chaolu recalled what Chu Zhetian had said to her before they separated, about being careful of the first elder and the fourth elder. Zhetian's foresight was indeed correct, and with the status, strength, and positions of the two, what disaster would they bring to the entire Tai Xu Sect if they harbored evil intentions? No. I must endure now, and not show anything. Everything. Wait until Zhetian returns, and then we'll speak. Yu Chaolu thought this way, carefully caressing Zhang Daliai's convulsing facial features, as if trying to smooth over her disciple's pain. In the next moment, she stood up slowly and looked at Ji Yinlian, her expression grave. All right, then I will trouble the fourth elder with my disciple. Please do your best to help him recover. In the next moment, she turned to look at Yu Shuihan, a hint of mockery and resentment flickering in her beautiful eyes. Sect Master, is Yeya still at your residence? Shall I come and get her myself? Or will you send her back to Vermilion Bird Peak? Zhetian's fate is unknown. Yeya will be raised by me from now on. Facing this question, Yu Shuihan's expression changed again, and he said, Didn't your disciples tell you? Hearing this, Yu Chaolu's heart suddenly skipped a beat. What does the sect master mean? I was brought here as soon as I returned to the sect. What did my disciples tell me? What happened to Yeya? At this moment, Bai Changqing's cold voice rang out. Humph! That little demon seed went berserk earlier and harmed a disciple of White Tiger Peak. Now, she has been imprisoned in Changqing Courtyard. Swish! Hearing this, Yu Chaolu's face completely changed. What? Yeya is only a 6-year-old child. Why would you imprison her? No matter how she looked at it, she never expected that she would have to face these consecutive changes upon returning to the sect. Her senior disciple was tortured to idiocy. Even Yeya had been imprisoned. By Chongqing, Ji Yinlian. You two old bastards, what exactly do you want? A 6-year-old child? Humph. In my opinion, she is clearly a major hidden danger planted in our sect by the Nightshade Palace. She might even bring disaster to the sect, or attract that evil ancestor of the Nightshade Palace. Therefore, she must be supervised by me personally. I haven't killed this demon seed directly, partly out of respect for the sect master's face. Bai Chongqing said solemnly. His words were all for the sake of the sect. He even made preparations for the plan in advance, because their plan was not to completely destroy Tai Xu Sect, but to use the Nightshade Palace's help for a major blood change for the sect. By then, they would collude with outsiders, kill the sect master and other elders, and eliminate those sect leaders who opposed him. They had even negotiated with the Nightshade Palace over how to divide the spoils. Those who died in this process, including the bodies and souls of the sect master and several elders, would be offered to the Nightshade Palace's evil ancestor for the refining of demonic artifacts. Bai Chongqing and Ji Yinlian would then have power in their grasp. No one could stop them from refining the sect's main spiritual vein and breaking through to the nascent soul. Therefore, in order to firmly control the sect and influence people's hearts, he was now laying the groundwork for it. Keeping Yeya was not only for precaution, to control Chu Zhetian. At that time, they could also push everything onto this 6-year-old child. It was because of this demon seed that the evil ancestor of the Nightshade Palace was attracted, that the sect would be faced with calamity. Bai Chongqing had even thought of it. When the time came, he would publicly cut off the little demon seed's head to eliminate the sect's harm and comfort the spirits of the sect master and others. At this moment, hearing Bai Chongqing's righteous explanation, Yu Chaolu almost couldn't control herself and was about to erupt. But in the end, she endured it. She couldn't be impulsive. Otherwise, everything Zhetian had done would be in vain. It might even kill Yeya. In the next moment, she took a deep breath and laughed mockingly. The first elder is truly working hard and exhausting himself for the sake of the sect. Yu Chaolu has an impertinent request. May the elder show mercy. I beg you to imprison me with Yeya. She had promised Zhetian to take care of Yeya, but she didn't have the strength to take the child away from the first elder's hands. But at least she could be with the child. Zhetian, you told me it wouldn't be long. Yueyue and I are waiting for you to come back. That afternoon, Golden Rainbow Pass. In a room within the stronghold, Imo Qingfei, naked, was soaked in a large wooden barrel. The barrel was filled with water boiled with glutinous rice. In addition to that, she had also added a few other extremely young substances. Imo Qingfei's originally somewhat dark face, apart from being pale, had turned back to its normal color. Obviously, the corpse poison within her had almost been neutralized. At least, there was no more danger of corpse transformation. With a soft moan, Imo Qingfei gradually woke up. In the next moment, she was suddenly startled and clasped her naked shoulders with her hands. Creak. Then, the room's door opened. Are you awake? A female disciple of Tai Xu Sect, stationed at the pass, entered the room when she heard the noise. She belonged to the logistical support of the Azure Dragon Army. After the Nirvana killed the people of the Ink Feather Sect in the stronghold, Su Hongtu and the others rescued the Outer Sect members who were originally stationed here and left behind a portion of the Azure Dragon Army. This female disciple was one of them. Before that, she was also arranged by the second elder to take care of Imo Qingfei, who was rescued by him. Who are you? Where am I? Imo Qingfei held her chest, cautiously staring at the person in front of her as she asked. After a while, after a conversation, Imo Qingfei's beautiful face went through a series of changes. Her beautiful eyes revealed a hint of sadness and hatred. During the conversation, she asked about the whereabouts of Imo Laodao, Imo Qingqian, and others. From the Azure Dragon Peak female disciple, Imo Qingfei learned that they were also dead. The person who harmed them was a young powerhouse from the Frost Wolf sect of the Northern Cold Prefecture, named Nirvana. And judging from the female disciples' descriptions, as well as the time of the incident, this Nirvana and Nyoda seemed to be the same person. With her inner suspicion, she drew a simple and honest-looking human face on the ground after putting on her clothes. Sister, take a look. The person who killed those Ink Feather Sect experts, is it him? The female disciple took a look and nodded very firmly. That's right. It's him. This person is Nirvana. Have you seen this person too? The female disciple had seen Nirvana from afar before, and she was also one of the people who was mocked as a coward by him, in addition to Su Yinhu and the others. In addition, Peak Master Su Hongtu had previously issued an order to widely publicize Nirvana's crime of killing the Ink Feather Sect fellow disciples, so that the Ink Feather Sect would know who to blame, to avoid implicating the Tai Xu Sect. Therefore, the female disciple had no intention of concealing anything for Nirvana. She answered whatever Imo Qingfei asked. Swish. As soon as she finished speaking, Imo Qingfei's beautiful face seemed to be covered by a layer of frost. A pair of beautiful eyes stared intently at the face of Nirvana. Nirvana, of the Frost Wolf sect, in the Northern Cold Prefecture? I will definitely find you. Chapter 71. Ask me to beget a grandson for the descendants. A booming voice suddenly cut through the air. Himph. I say, that young hero of Nirvana did well. Injuring disciples of my Tai Xu sect, seizing our pass. Those people from the Imo sect deserved everything they got. With the voice came Su Beiwang, his face grim as he strode in. He had learned what had transpired at the Golden Rainbow Pass. What infuriated him the most was his grandson, Su Hongtu's, pathetic display against the people of the Imo sect. You may leave, Su Beiwang said, waving a hand dismissively at the female disciple. Senior, do you know who I am? Imo Qingfei stood up and bowed, her expression a bit uneasy. Imo Qingfei, the most outstanding disciple of the young generation of the Imo sect. You reached the second level of the Golden Core realm at just 24. A talent rarely seen in 1,000 years. Su Beiwang replied gruffly. The Tai Xu sect naturally kept tabs on talented individuals from various sects. Imo Qingfei, as such a gifted woman, was definitely on their radar. I don't deserve such praise, Imo Qingfei said, bowing 90 degrees towards Su Beiwang, her gratitude sincere. I haven't even thanked Senior for saving my life yet. If it weren't for this Senior, she would have been devoured by wolves. Her death would have been horrible. All right, if you have any sense of decency, return and explain the situation to your MOU sect leader. Don't blame our Tai Xu Sect for the deaths of those people. Also, the MOU sect needs to give the Tai Xu Sect an explanation for seizing our Golden Rainbow Pass and injuring our personnel. The MOU sect, while strong, cannot simply bully others like this. If things truly escalate, it won't be good for either sect. Humph, Su Beiwang said forcefully. Mo Qingfei's pretty face immediately flushed. Their actions within the Tai Xu Sect's territory were indeed indefensible. The purpose of sealing off the Golden Rainbow Mountain Range was to allow her to seize opportunities within the Golden Cicada secret realm. But in the end, they had gained nothing and suffered significant casualties. Was this karma? Senior, rest assured, I will explain the situation after returning to my sect. Grievances have their origins. The MOU sect will not. Blame the Tai Xu Sect. We will also offer the Honorable Sect some compensation for this incident. Mo Qingfei replied with a wry smile. Good. Su Beiwang's expression softened slightly, then his tone became more serious. He stared at her expectantly and asked, By the way, since you've been active in this area, have you seen my descendant, the one called Zhetian? Zhetian? I don't know who that is, and I haven't seen him. Mo Qingfei shook her head, looking puzzled. What descendant Zhetian? She hadn't seen any living person in the Golden Rainbow Mountain Range during this time. The only person she had seen was Big Bull. All right then. Take good care of yourself. Su Beiwang sighed, a look of concern and disappointment returning to his face. He turned to leave. Senior. Mo Qingfei called out to him at that moment, carefully choosing her words. Senior's life-saving grace cannot be repaid. Where are you going? I wonder if there's anything I can do to help? Su Beiwang looked her up and down, his expression changing slightly. You little girl, you are quite attractive. Since you say you can't repay the life-saving grace, why don't you offer yourself in marriage? Ah. Mo Qingfei's mouth dropped open in surprise. Was this senior disrespecting his age? Ha ha ha. Su Beiwang chuckled heartily. But I'm old, it wouldn't be right for you to be with me. How about, when we find my descendant Zhetian, you marry my worthless boy? As a great-grandfather, Su Beiwang had been calculating ways to find a companion for this young man ever since Chu Zhetian broke off his engagement with Su Ruoyan. It was like an elder worrying about a grandchild's marriage. After thinking about it, Su Beiwang felt that none of his great-granddaughters were good enough for Zhetian. This girl from the MOU sect, however, was almost perfect. Not only was she exceptionally beautiful and of good character, but her strength and talent were also evident. If Zhetian married her, it would be a win-win situation. Not only would he gain a powerful ally, but because of Mo Qingfei's identity, the Tai Xu Sect could form a marriage alliance with the MOU Sect, the #1 sect of the Qinglu Prefecture, supporting and protecting each other from then on. That old man, Yu Shuihan, would be grinning from ear to ear, wouldn't he? It would benefit both Zhetian and the sect in countless ways. Ah, marry your descendant? Mo Qingfei's expression was quite odd. What, you don't want to? Didn't you say you can't repay the life-saving grace? Are you saying that you're not sincere, and you're just talking without meaning it? Although Su Beiwang was known for his explosive temper and crude manner, he had lived a long life and was certainly not as straightforward as he appeared. Even if he wasn't cunning, he had plenty of schemes. See, he directly used moral coercion for Zhetian. At this point, he changed his tone. Or do you think my descendant Zhetian isn't good enough for you? Little girl, don't think you're so great just because you reached the Golden Core realm at 20-something. My descendant Zhetian will absolutely be more powerful than you. He's more than good enough for you. In his heart, Chu Zhetian was a star of destiny who would lead the Tai Xu Sect to stand firm in this world. No one could be more outstanding than this young man. He was more than qualified to be with any girl. It was completely the mindset of a parent looking at their own child. Mo Qingfei's delicate face flushed even redder. Inexperienced and still innocent in her thoughts, she was unsure how to respond to Su Beiwang's moral coercion. Yes, the senior had saved her life. She couldn't repay him enough. But to have her marry his grandson? Was it right? She hadn't even met the person. More importantly, she was still immersed in the grief of her elder brother and others being killed by Nirvana. How could she consider such things? Imo Qingfei hesitated there for a moment, wondering how to refuse politely. That's right. Nirvana. Suddenly, an idea struck Imo Qingfei. She looked at Su Beiwang, whose eyes were filled with expectation, and thought of a way to dissuade him. Senior, it's not that I'm ungrateful, nor do I think your descendant isn't good enough for me. But I am now burdened with a deep blood feud. My guardian elder and many senior brothers and fellow disciples were all harmed by that Nirvana because of me. If I don't avenge them, how can I, Imo Qingfei, face the world? And as far as I know, the Frost Wolf sect of the Northern Cold Prefecture is incredibly powerful. Its foundation and strength far surpasses our 3 sects and 2 gates of the Qinglu Prefecture. So, this vengeance, even the Imo sect may have to endure it. But personally, I am determined to avenge them, even if it means flying into the fire like a moth or fighting with an egg against a rock. I must kill that Nirvana. So right now, I don't want to consider matters of love. If one day, I also die in that Nirvana's hands, wouldn't I be a burden on your descendant? Unless... Speaking of which, Imo Qingfei bit her lip. Unless he can help me avenge them and kill that Nirvana, then don't even mention asking me to marry him. Even if I have to be a servant, I will do it willingly. Hearing Imo Qingfei's request, Su Beiwang's expression changed several times. Finally, he nodded in agreement, neither confirming nor denying. The Frost Wolf sect? Huh? Then, your revenge probably depends on my descendant Zhetian. Take good care of yourself. I'll leave now. With that, Su Beiwang got up to leave. No matter what, he had to find Zhetian first. Otherwise, what he had said now would be meaningless. Imo Qingfei watched Su Beiwang leave, the expression on her delicate face shifting uncertainly. Who? Did Senior mean that I can only rely on his descendant Zhetian to get revenge? The Tai Xu Sect's strength isn't as good as the Imo Sect's. Has a peerless genius appeared? More powerful than me? Chapter 72. Master might not be alive to see that day. Over half a month passed in a blink of an eye. Inside the Golden Cicada secret realm, Chu Zhetian lost track of time, continuously cultivating. Buzz. At this moment, intense fluctuations of spiritual energy erupted from his body. After more than 10 days, under the combined effects of the swallowing Heaven Saint body's voracious cultivation speed and the divine grade technique, Supreme Tao Book, Chu Zhetian's Qi refining realm finally advanced from the first level of the Golden Core to the peak of the 9th level. Next, refine the Corpse King's nascent soul and form a nascent soul Dantian. Chu Zhetian thought to himself. The hurdle from Golden Core to nascent soul had stopped countless cultivators. Because it was not just a matter of cultivating spiritual energy. Under normal circumstances, cultivators also need to elevate their own soul and strengthen their spiritual power. Then, use spiritual power to connect with the Dantian and interact with each other. Over the course of years, this is the only way the Dantian could get nurtured by the spiritual power and creates a trace of spirit. It transforms from the original Golden Core and evolves into a nascent soul, which has spirit. It was this process which caused the vast majority of cultivators to get the wrong technique, so their entire life cannot advance. They were stuck at the peak of the 9th level of the Golden Core. Even if they can succeed, it often takes a lot of time. However, other than this method of taking things step by step, there was a shortcut. That is to find all kinds of heaven and earth spiritual objects which possess spirit and refine them into the body, and then merge with their own Dantian, thus creating a spiritual nascent soul. Next, Chu Zhetian will refine the Corpse King's nascent soul, and it is the same logic. The Great Taishang, by Chang'e, got stuck at the peak of the 9th level of the Golden Core for decades, so he was obsessed by the thought. The sect's main spiritual vein had also already created a earth spirit. He and Ji Yinlian, for their own sake, wanted to refine the sect's main spiritual vein into their bodies. Doing so will definitely be opposed by the sect leader and the other Taishang. So, these two did not hesitate to destroy the sect and annihilate living creatures, stepping on the corpses of others and making the transition to nascent soul. In their eyes, once the sect leader and the other Tai Shang all fall, no one in the Tai Xu Sect can stop them. Chu Zhetian thought of the tragic scenes of the sect catastrophe in his past life, and his eyes flashed with a touch of coldness. This life, he must stop all this. Eradicate by Chang'e and the others scheme in advance. The next second, he collected his mind and began to refine the Corpse King's nascent soul. Once one enters the nascent soul realm, their strength will undergo an earth-shattering improvement. Externalizing the soul, internalizing the infant, roaming the void, sensing the heavens and earth. At that time, the nascent soul Dantian can further merge with one's own spiritual power and be able to capture the principles of the heavens and earth. Once one understands the principles of the heavens and earth, even if they only grasp the embryo of principles, they can also include the power of principles when attacking and defending. This kind of power is simply devastating to cultivators below the nascent soul. Chu Zhetian thought to himself. Before, when he reached the Golden Core realm, the precondition for casting spells was that he gained some insight on a certain kind of principle of the heavens and earth. However, the spell cannot contain the power of principles. It can be said that the spells he cast only had the shape, but not the spirit. And once he entered the nascent soul realm, then the power of imprisoning dragon and breaking locks will be incomparable to how it was before. Even the common moves can contain the power of principles. However, when the spirit is not strong enough, the usage of this kind of power will cost too much mental effort. It should not be used lightly until a critical moment. Next, Chu Zhetian, with his expectations for the nascent soul realm, began to concentrate on refining the Corpse King's nascent soul. I have been in the Golden Cicada secret realm since I came. I don't know how many days have passed. I have vanished from the world. It should be able to delay by Chang'e and Jianlian for a while. But in here, I am unaware of the matters of the outside world. This feeling is truly unsettling. Break through as soon as possible and return as soon as possible. Yueyue is still waiting for me. And Xiaolu, I must return before she goes to the Heavenly Saber Sect. The everlasting verdant court. Within the secret room, Yu Xiaolu was sitting cross-legged on the ground, her spiritual energy flowing within her. This secret room was originally by Chang'e's place of cultivation, and the concentration of spiritual energy was naturally extraordinarily dense. It was also directly connected to the sect's spiritual vein, comparable to Yu Shuohan's exclusive cultivation secret room. Yu Xiaolu was imprisoned here with Yueyue, and naturally she would not waste time. What she cultivated now was also the Supreme Tao Book. That's right. That time at Golden Rainbow City, after the two of them were entangled a few times, Chu Zhetian remarkably wrote down the technique in his mind and gave it to Yu Xiaolu. For this beautiful master, oh, now, it should be called confidant. Chu Zhetian trusted her completely. Whether it was his past life or this life, Yu Xiaolu had given everything to him and Yueyue. For his sake, she had conflicts with Su Hongtu and He Shouqing. Facing the death-seeking by Pengjiu, she fought to protect him. The Heavenly Saber Sect's Grand Elder questioned her. She took the blame for him and was willing to agree to marry him as a concubine. These things, Chu Zhetian had kept them in his heart. The 7th level of the Golden Core? This technique Zhetian gave me is truly worthy of being a divine grade. In half a month's time, it has allowed me to leap from the 1st level of the Golden Core to the 7th level. At this moment, the spiritual energy within Yu Xiaolu fluctuated a little, and she finally opened her beautiful eyes. However, her face did not show the happiness from the improvement of her strength, but was filled with a touch of worry. Zhetian, haven't you returned yet? If you don't return, I fear it will be too late. The next second, she turned her head to look. She felt slightly better after seeing the small figure. At the same time as she was cultivating, Yueyue was also practicing the 36 styles of body techniques her father taught her. The movements of this little guy are now very skilled and standard. However, it still could not cover up her coquettish and lovely nature. However, At night she would miss her father and cry in her dreams while curled up. Whenever this time came, Yu Chaolu would hug her and coax her gently. "Master, why aren't you cultivating?" At this moment, Yaya blinked her big eyes and asked Yu Chaolu. Yu Chaolu squeezed out an affectionate smile on her face. "Yaya, can you stop practicing first? Master has something to tell you." Oh. Yaya nodded her little head and then stopped. The next second, she sat very obediently in front of Yu Chaolu. "Master, what do you want to tell Yaya? Is it related to Daddy? When will Daddy be able to return?" The little guy started her daily question again. Not a single day did she not look forward to seeing her daddy. "Don't worry, your daddy will be back in a few days. However, Master might not be alive to see that day, and will have to take a long trip in advance. I won't be able to continue to accompany Yaya. Therefore, Yaya must remember everything Master says next, and also do it seriously." Yu Chaolu put away the smile on her face and put on a serious expression. Yaya saw this and also sat up straight. Yaya will remember everything that Master says and will be obedient. Chapter 73. Departure for the Heavenly Sword Sect. Yaya, do you remember the things your master ancestor gave you the first time she brought you back to Vermilion Peak? Seeing Yaya so well-behaved and understanding, Yu Chaolu stroked her little head and asked. Of course, Yaya remembers. Master ancestor gave me so many wonderful things." Yaya nodded. Back then, Yu Chaolu, as a welcome gift, gave the little one a spatial pouch filled with delicious treats, fun toys, and a few practical items. Then, "Do you remember the concealment talisman? Take it out and let me see if it's still there?" Yu Chaolu asked. The concealment talisman was similar to the breath-concealing talisman used by Emo Qingfei before. Both could make the user's form disappear. However, the concealment talisman wasn't as powerful as the breath-concealing talisman. It could only make the user invisible to the naked eye, but it couldn't conceal their aura. Furthermore, it only worked for the user. But the duration of the invisibility was long enough. As long as the user didn't reveal themselves, the invisibility could last for 2 or 3 days. It was also a high-grade Earth-rank spirit talisman, considered precious. From this, it could be seen how generous Yu Chaolu was towards Yaya. Hearing this, Yaya conjured a talisman in her small hand. "It's here, Master Ancestor. See?" Good. Yu Chaolu nodded with satisfaction, then seriously instructed, "Today, someone will come to take Master Ancestor away. When that happens, you tear this concealment talisman and follow Master Ancestor out of this secret chamber. After that, you must always follow Master Ancestor secretly, but make sure no one finds you. Can you do it, Yaya?" She already knew that the Grand Elder might be up to no good, so how could she feel safe leaving Yaya here? Therefore, she preferred to have the little one secretly follow her to the Heavenly Sword Sect, rather than have her fall into by Chang'e's hands. With herself present, as long as she feigned compliance with the people of the Heavenly Sword Sect, they shouldn't mistreat a 6-year-old girl. Yu Chaolu knew that Chu Zhetian would eventually seek out the Heavenly Sword Sect. By then, she might have already, but she could definitely protect Yaya and ensure her safety until Zhetian came to save her. "Yes, don't worry, Master Ancestor. Yaya is very capable." Yaya nodded, agreeing in a serious manner. Even though the little one was young, she was actually very clever. She understood everything in her heart. Her big eyes looked at Yu Chaolu with a look of affection and adoration. She knew she was being kept locked up, and she also knew that Master Ancestor had been staying with her these past few days. Now, she was instructing her to do these things, also certainly for her own good, to let her escape from the control of the bad guys. The little one felt that Master Ancestor was even better than her mother. "Good child." Yu Chaolu affectionately pinched Yaya's little face. She silently thought to herself, she really is Chu Zhetian's daughter, equally confident, equally strong, and equally so captivating. Yu Chaolu was very confident that Yaya could do as she was told. Over the past half-month, she had also discovered the little one's marvel. Despite Yaya's small stature, Yu Chaolu had tested it and Yeya's strength was extraordinary. The spirit heart immortal body, coupled with the practice of the 36 styles of body techniques, allowed the little girl's physical qualities to surpass those of a post-heavenly realm cultivator. And this was even before the demonic seed within her erupted. Once the demonic seed erupted, she had even injured by Tianming, who was at the third layer of the post-heavenly realm. That was only half a month ago. Now, she was likely even more formidable. The next second, Yu Chaolu felt the little one's bright eyes staring at her and couldn't help but smile gently. Yeya, why are you looking at Master Ancestor like that? Yeya shifted her gaze and lowered her small head, seeming a little embarrassed. Playing with her fingers, she softly said, because Yeya likes Master Ancestor. Yeya feels that Master Ancestor is better than my mother. I wish Master Ancestor was Yeya's mother. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu's affection and love for her became even more overwhelming. The next second, she embraced the little one and kissed Yeya's little face. Then, when there's no one around, don't call me Master Ancestor, call me Mother, okay? In fact, Yu Chaolu was embarrassed to say it outright. She definitely preferred to be Yeya's mother, not Master Ancestor. After all, she had done what should and shouldn't have been done with that bastard father of hers. Really? Yeya's eyes widened with joy. Really? Yu Chaolu smiled indulgently. Mother? Yes. Mother? Yes, Mother is here. Giggle. Yeya has another wonderful mother. For a moment, Yeya's dimples appeared as she laughed, and she couldn't be happier. Children might not be as clever as adults, but their intuition was very accurate. She could feel that Yu Chaolu genuinely cared for her. So, she also wanted to be close to her from the bottom of her heart. Creak. At this moment, Yu Chaolu's expression turned serious. She caught a certain sound. It was the sound of the outer door leading from the ground to the underground secret chamber being opened. Yeya, someone's coming. Quick, tear the concealment talisman now. Remember everything Mother told you before. Yu Chaolu released Yeya and spoke in a hurried tone. She hadn't expected them to come so soon. Yeya nodded her head, but kept her mouth shut. Screech. The next second, her small hand tore the talisman. The little figure immediately became blurry. Until it disappeared, Yu Chaolu quickly went to a corner of the secret chamber and made some arrangements. From her own spatial treasure, she took out a pile of miscellaneous items and piled them up, forming the shape of a child. Then, she tore off her outer garment and covered it. Boom. Just as she finished, the stone door of the secret chamber was opened from the outside. Yu Chaolu looked at them coldly. She saw Bai Pengkuan and another high-ranking member of the Bai clan, Bai Hengqiu, appearing outside the secret chamber with a group of female disciples from the External Affairs Hall. Judging by their attire, they were clearly the escorting party. Yu Chaolu, the day after tomorrow is the auspicious date you agreed upon with Elder Zhong Wanhai of the Heavenly Sword Sect. As a concubine, you should go there yourself according to the rules. The journey from our sect to the Heavenly Sword Sect is long. Pack your things and set off today, won't you? Bai Hengqiu spoke expressionlessly. This person was the second son of Grand Elder Bai Chang'e and one of the 4 vice sect masters of the Tai Xu Sect. Yu Chaolu scanned the scene, but didn't see the figure of sect master Yu Shuihan. Yu Shuihan. You, as a father, didn't even come to see me off. Is it? Is it because you don't care about me as a daughter, or do you, as the sect master of the Tai Xu Sect, feel ashamed that I am marrying into the Heavenly Sword Sect as a concubine? Yu Chaolu sneered silently inside. At this moment, she deeply felt the helplessness of a weak sect having no dignity. If the Tai Xu Sect were as powerful as the MOU Sect, with several nascent Soul Realm experts in charge, how could they be forced by the Heavenly Sword Sect because they killed a Zhong Wanlin? The daughter of a sect master, the leader of a peak, how could she have to marry as a concubine? All this humiliation stems from weakness. Perhaps only Zhetian can change all this. Chapter 74. There's still time. That morning, Yu Chaolu left the Tai Xu Sect and headed for the Heavenly Sword Sect. Vermilion Peak. Zhang Wenxuan, Tangi Tai, and Miao Yumeng were gathered together. The atmosphere on the scene was incredibly oppressive. All three faces bore a deep sense of grief and indignation. Lying on the bed not far away was the unconscious Zhang Dalai. Since returning from the Inside Academy, this senior brother had been in a coma for half a month. Occasionally, he would let out a silly laugh or a cry. It seemed that even if he woke up, he would have become a complete fool. The fourth elder, Jianlian, had said she would find a way to help him recover, but it seemed she was just saying it. Or rather, she really didn't have a solution. Do you think, did Master really want to marry that Zhong Wanhai as a concubine? At this moment, Zhang Wenxuan took a deep breath and asked in a low voice. Before leaving, Yu Chaolu had returned to Vermilion Peak, stopping a few of her disciples from accompanying her and also giving them some instructions. The most important thing was to have them, for the time being, leave the sect under the guise of taking Zhang Dalai out to seek medical treatment. Everything would be decided when their junior brother Chu returned. In addition, Yu Chaolu kept saying that she had always admired this grand elder of the Heavenly Sword Sect, and she told them not to cry and make a fuss, as it would interfere with her happiness. Master is lying, Miao Yumeng said with red eyes. When I was young, Master mentioned once that she wanted to cut that Zhong Wanhai into 1,000 pieces. Because Master had visited senior sister Xiaoxia at the Heavenly Sword Sect and had witnessed with her own eyes how her own sister had been tormented horribly by that Zhong Wanhai. Therefore, she had always harbored resentment towards the sect master. How could Master possibly admire that man named Zhong? Clang. As the words fell, Tang Yitai drew his sword directly from its sheath. That face, usually bearing a rascally expression, was now filled with a look of grief and indignation. If that's the case, then Master's journey to the Heavenly Sword Sect will surely be full of hardship and suffering. What difference is there between us and her own children? If Master is subjected to such a great humiliation, how can we live in this world if we don't do something? Zhang Wenxuan also gnashed his teeth. What third junior brother said is correct. We must do something. Even if we are smashed to pieces, we can't let Master be humiliated. Miao Yumeng also nodded, the doll face lacking its usual liveliness, showing instead a few hints of resolve. That bastard surnamed Zhong, if he wants to touch Master, unless we all die. The next second, the three of them looked at each other and saw the madness and determination in each other's eyes. Go! 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 2 days later, Golden Rainbow Mountain Range. Accompanied by a wave of spatial fluctuations, Chu Zhetian's figure appeared out of thin air in a valley. It was a coincidence. Leaving the exit of the Golden Cicada secret realm, one should have appeared randomly within 100 miles. But Chu Zhetian, very coincidentally, had appeared in the same place as Imo Qingfei had before. At this moment, he had broken through to the nascent soul realm. And because of his past life's memories, Chu Zhetian was also a nascent soul great expert who grasped the power of the Tao. Identifying the direction, he soon walked out of the valley. Then he changed his appearance and came to Golden Rainbow City, 100 miles away. What? I've been in the Golden Cicada secret realm for a full 18 days? Looking at the water transport celestial sphere on the city wall of Golden Rainbow City, which was used to record dates and times, Chu Zhetian's expression changed drastically. Immediately afterwards, he calculated with his fingers. His whole body's breathing became stagnant. In his starry eyes, a deep sense of anxiety and guilt arose. Today is the so-called auspicious day. That is, the day Chaolu agreed with Zhong Wanhai to marry him as a concubine. Damn it! I thought I could break through to the nascent soul realm in about 10 days. I didn't expect that it would still be delayed for so long. Thinking of these past few days, Yu Chaolu had waited for him in vain. Today, she was forced to have a wedding with Zhong Wanhai and even enter the bridal chamber. Chu Zhetian's breathing was unsteady. I promised Chaolu that I would arrive in time to stop all this. But until today, she has never waited for me. How disappointed must she be? Chu Zhetian felt a sting in his heart. The next second, he turned directly and rushed in the direction of the Heavenly Sword Sect. That powerful physical strength, combined with the surging spiritual energy, made Chu Zhetian appear to be flying along the ground. The speed was as swift as thunder. At this moment, he missed his previous life immensely. When he reached the realm of a celestial being, he could use a sword to fly and cover 1,000 miles in an instant. Faster, even faster. There's still time. From here to the Heavenly Sword Sect, a mere 2,000 miles, I can arrive in one day. Xiaolu, wait for me. That night, Heavenly Sword Sect, Grand Elder's Mansion, 10,000 Sea Courtyard. Today, this mansion, as well as the entire Heavenly Sword Sect, were enveloped in an atmosphere of joy. Grand Elder Zhong Wanhai, to remarry for the 10th time, and the identity of this concubine was, astonishingly, the youngest daughter of the Tai Xu Sect master. Furthermore, she was one of the 6 peak masters of the other sect. This was not only Zhong Wanhai embracing a beauty, but also a symbol of a kind of victory for the Heavenly Sword Sect. In the wedding room illuminated by red light, a stunning figure was sitting on the bed, wearing a veil. She wore phoenix red clothes and a phoenix coronet. Swish. The next second, the red veil was lifted, revealing Yu Xiaolu's exquisitely beautiful and peerless face. Ha ha ha. Sister Xiaolu, you are so beautiful today. Brother-in-law, oh no. Husband will definitely take good care of you tonight. Zhong Wanhai was beaming with joy, his eyes filled with a strong, lustful, and wicked gleam as he looked at Yu Xiaolu. The next second, he directly tore off his new groom's clothes and was about to kiss the beauty in front of him. A hint of hatred and disgust flashed in Yu Xiaolu's eyes, and she reached out to stop him. Her strength had already reached the 7th layer of the Golden Core realm, and she didn't fear Zhong Wanhai. But at this moment, she couldn't act rashly and could only temporarily feign compliance with him. Therefore, Yu Xiaolu suppressed the urge to attack, and her beautiful eyes glanced. She smiled charmingly at Zhong Wanhai. Don't be impatient. I have something to ask you. If you don't answer me properly, I'll suffocate you tonight. At the end, she spoke with a coquettish tone and extended a jade finger, poking at his forehead. For a time, she was full of charm, incomparable, as if always free-spirited and uninhibited. Oh? Then ask. Zhong Wanhai's face flashed with a trace of anger after being pushed away. Then, he said with a playful expression, Why haven't I seen my sister from start to finish today? Can you let me take a look at her? Yu Xiaolu asked the question that concerned her most. From entering the Heavenly Sword Sect to the end of the wedding ceremony with Zhong Wanhai, she hadn't seen her sister Yu Xiaoxia. At the moment, Yu Xiaolu had a bad premonition in her heart. Could it be you want to call your sister over too, and you 2 sisters will serve your husband together? Zhong Wanhai, hearing this, grabbed Yu Xiaolu's chin and asked with a leering smile. A charming smile squeezed onto Yu Xiaolu's face. That's possible. However, hearing this, Zhong Wanhai wasn't blinded by the beauty, but instead sneered more playfully. Sister Xiaolu, you don't think I don't know you're stalling for time? What? Do you regret it now? Or do you think someone can come and save you? Today, you have fallen into my hands and will no longer be able to control yourself. With that, he snorted heavily, and a powerful aura suddenly erupted from his body, launching a violent attack at Yu Xiaolu. Clearly, he wanted to use certain coercive measures. Swish. At this moment, Yu Xiaolu's eyes also became sharp. Boom, boom, boom. But just at this moment, a sudden change occurred. A series of earth-shattering explosions made the entire 10,000 Sea Courtyard collapse into chaos. Chapter 75. What are you running? Didn't you want to play? Outside, 3 figures, dressed in the Heavenly Sword Sect disciple uniforms, were now gathered together. They were Zhang Wenxuan, Tang Yitai, and Miao Yelming, after changing clothes. After leaving the sect with Zhang Dalai, the 3 first settled senior brother at the Zhang family in the county town, which was Zhang Wenxuan's home. Then, after making some preparations, they rushed to the Heavenly Sword Sect. Ha ha ha, awesome. Second senior brother, this gunpowder you bought is amazing. I directly blew up the Heavenly Sword Sect's Spirit Beast pin. Now, There's chaos over there, and the spirit beasts are running wild. Tang Yitai's face was filled with an excited smirk, and he gestured wildly. Zhang Wenxuan immediately shook his head proudly. Nonsense. This is a good thing that cost me a full 1,000,000 taels of silver, which I bought from a 1,000-man commander of the county town's defense forces. If a post-Heavenly Realm expert is not careful, they will get blown to death by this gunpowder. Hee hee hee. I also blew up their treasure pavilion's backyard. Awesome. Tang Yitai, hearing this, gave second senior brother a thumbs up. This time, those dog bastards of the Heavenly Sword Sect are busy, right? The sect is in such chaos, and that Zhong Wanhai, as the Grand Elder, I don't believe he still has the mind to enter the bridal chamber. The two were talking, and turned to look at Miao Yumeng beside them. However, the next second, Zhang Wenxuan and Tang Yitai both moved their noses and then revealed an expression of nausea. Little junior sister, where did you blow up? Why is there such a bad smell on your body? Tang Yitai asked, covering his nose. Miao Yumeng's expression looked a little embarrassed. Both feet were constantly rubbing against the ground, as if trying desperately to rub the soles of her shoes clean. Warala. At this moment, a group of people could be seen running in the distance. A more concentrated stench immediately drifted with the wind. Looking closely, good heavens, these people were covered in a yellow, sticky substance. Some people had a pile on top of their heads. Some people had their hair stuck together with filth, and it stuck in strands to their faces. The worst thing was that some people had been blown to pieces. Their limbs were covered in disgusting things, and they were also opening their mouths and crying out in pain. Looking at the situation, even if they didn't get blown to death, they would probably die from wound infections. Little junior sister, I may know where you blew up? Zhang Wenxuan's mouth twitched. Ming, the place you blew up is very critical. Tang Yitai also wiped a cold sweat. The two of them looked at Miao Yumeng's delicate and cute doll face, but couldn't help but shudder. This little junior sister looked harmless, but she was also too malicious. Hee hee. It's okay as long as it can cause chaos for the Heavenly Sword Sect. Although I don't know what Master's specific plan is, it's definitely right to help delay time. Let's go. Let's hurry and find Master. Miao Yumeng giggled, then changed to a serious expression. Zhang Wenxuan and Tang Yitai also had serious expressions. Play is play, fun is fun, and one can't forget the serious business. On the other side, in the room, the sudden explosion made Zhong Wanhai, who was about to attack Yu Chaolu, pause in his actions. Looking through the window, seeing that the outside was filled with fire and chaos, his face was completely ashen. Bitch, is this your doing? Zhong Wanhai glared at Yu Chaolu fiercely and asked. Yu Chaolu's face also revealed a trace of surprise. But immediately afterwards, she had a guess in her heart. It was certainly Yumeng and the others. It couldn't be by Pengkuan and by Hengqiu, because they didn't stay after sending the bride, and directly left the Heavenly Sword Sect. Nor could it be Zhetian's arrival. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so simple as creating chaos. The other party would definitely kill their way over. So, it could only be her few close disciples. Thinking that her few disciples were so disobedient, they had followed her over and even recklessly created trouble in the Heavenly Sword Sect. Yu Chaolu didn't know what kind of taste filled her heart. Anxiety, tension, moved, annoyed, helpless. You little bastards. How can you not listen to Master's words? It seems that I was too indulgent with you before. Do you know how dangerous this is? If you fall into the hands of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Yu Chaolu thought silently, her expression tense. At this moment, Zhong Wanhai looked coldly at Yu Chaolu and turned to go out to check the situation. Who dares to be presumptuous in the Heavenly Sword Sect? If I catch him, I must pull out his tendons and peel his skin. Yu Chaolu's eyes became sharp, and she acted directly. Swish. A precious sword appeared out of thin air in her hand, and she stabbed towards Zhong Wanhai's back. Zhong Wanhai's face changed, and he instantly drew his sword to block. Clang. The sword and sword clashed, and the remaining power scattered. Ding ding ding. Next, Zhong Wanhai took 3 steps back, and his face revealed a look of surprise. What? The 7th layer of the golden core? How could your strength possibly be so strong? After one exchange, Zhong Wanhai immediately discovered Yu Chaolu's true strength and was shocked beyond measure. As far as he knew, wasn't Yu Chaolu's strength at the mixed Yuan realm? When did she reach the 7th layer of the golden core? He was only at the 3rd layer of the golden core, a difference of 4 minor realms, and with this exchange, he immediately fell into a disadvantage. Yu Chaolu didn't answer, just sneered. Zhong Wanhai, what are you running? Didn't you want to play with me? I'll play with you. With that, she once again attacked fiercely with her sword. Clang, clang, clang. For a time, the room was filled with the flashing of swords and shadows. Tables, chairs, furniture, and even the bed made of spirit beast bones were turned into dust under the aftermath of the 2 golden core experts' attack. It was only because Zhong Wanhai's house had protective arrays set up, otherwise the house would have become ruins. Finally, after the 2 of them had exchanged blows for more than a dozen moves, Yu Chaolu seized the opportunity and stabbed Zhong Wanhai's abdomen with her sword. Zhong Wanhai groaned and stepped back quickly. After standing still, he clutched his wound and glared at Yu Chaolu with the eyes of a hungry wolf. Zhong Wanhai, tell me, what happened to my sister? Yu Chaolu asked in a stern voice. Zhong Wanhai sneered, and in this situation, he still had no fear. Want to see your sister? Good. After I cripple you and ruin you, I will let you go and be with her. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu's phoenix eyes widened, and her eyebrows stood on end. What did you do to my sister? If I don't see her today, I will cut you into 1,000 pieces. Zhong Wanhai, clutching his abdominal wound, let out a burst of arrogant laughter. Ha 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 ha. Yu Chaolu, do you really think you can do anything to me? Your strength reaching the 7th layer of the golden core is indeed very surprising. But that's all. The next second, between his 2 fingers, there was a purple pill. Do you know what this is? Zhong Wanhai shouted coldly. Yu Chaolu's pupil shrank, and her face changed drastically. Exploding spirit pill? The quality of this kind of pill had reached the heaven rank, high grade. It could make the spiritual power in one's body burn, exploding with several times its power. The user's strength would increase dramatically in a short period of time. With Zhong Wanhai's 3rd layer of the golden core realm, once he took the exploding spirit pill, he would have the combat power of a half-step golden core. Yu Chaolu would be completely crushed. Chapter 76, Snatching Food from the Tiger's Mouth. That's right, it's the exploding spirit pill. Zhong Wanhai's face was full of pride, and it seemed that the sword Yu Chaolu had stabbed at him didn't hurt anymore. With this heaven rank, high-grade pill, he had 100% certainty that he could crush Yu Chaolu in return. This pill was not only very amazing in effect, but also had few side effects. It would only exhaust spiritual energy, causing a period of weakness. It wouldn't damage the foundation. Bitch. Is the 7th layer of the golden core strong? Next, I will take the exploding spirit pill, and then I will seriously injure you. Cripple your dantian and break your meridians. In your defenseless state, I will toy with you to death. Ha ha ha. How about it? Does it sound exciting? Zhong Wanhai was laughing triumphantly and perversely. Yu Chaolu's pretty face immediately became gloomy. The next second, Zhong Wanhai pinched the exploding spirit pill and was about to put it into his mouth. But just at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Swish! A petite figure appeared out of nowhere. She just leaped up, like a nimble little kitten, and flashed past Zhong Wanhai. And then, the exploding spirit pill that Zhong Wanhai was holding between his fingers disappeared. The other party didn't even react. He still put his hand towards his mouth and acted like he was putting it in. After finding that there was nothing in his mouth, the whole person froze there. Master Ancestor, here you go. At this moment, a clear and tender voice rang out. Who else would this suddenly appearing figure be, if not Yueyue, who had been hiding all along? The little one still remembered to call Yu Chaolu Master Ancestor, when outsiders were present, and secretly called her mother in private. Yueyue quickly ran to Yu Chaolu's side and opened her small hand to her. The exploding spirit pill was clearly lying in the little one's palm. Seeing this scene, Zhong Wanhai looked at his own empty hand, and the whole person was stunned. He couldn't imagine that there would be a child in the room that he couldn't see, even if he racked his brains. Not only him, but also Yu Chaolu's expression was frozen there. She also couldn't imagine that Yueyue would appear at a critical moment. Such a small girl actually snatched food from the mouth of a golden core third-layer expert. Helped her grab the exploding spirit pill? At this moment, Yu Chaolu looked at Yueyue with eyes that almost softened. What is a lucky charm? Is there anyone more fitting than Yueyue? After regaining her senses, Yu Chaolu immediately stepped forward, first shielding Yueyue behind her, and then directly took the exploding spirit pill and ate it. What she wanted wasn't just to defeat Zhong Wanhai, but to control the other party. It was best to take hold of the other party as a hostage. Thus, she, Yueyue, including the few close disciples who were causing trouble outside, might be able to escape unharmed. Even, she could force out the whereabouts of her sister Xianxia and leave the Heavenly Sword Sect with her sister. With the strength of the 7th layer of the Golden Core, it wouldn't be difficult to defeat or even kill Zhong Wanhai, but it wouldn't be possible to capture him alive. But now, with this exploding spirit pill, it was different. Buzz. After taking the exploding spirit pill, Yu Chaolu's aura surged. The spiritual power in her body erupted like a volcano, burning fiercely. It even couldn't be controlled and gushed out of her body, making her clothes move without any wind. An aura far surpassing the Golden Core realm emanated from her body. This exploding spirit pill, surprisingly, gave Yu Chaolu the temporary strength of the Golden Core first layer. Damn it! Zhong Wanhai's eyelids twitched violently. After scolding, he turned to escape. The 3rd layer of the Golden Core against the 1st layer of the Golden Core, there's only the possibility of being utterly defeated. What's the point of fighting? Elder Wanhai? Don't you like to play exciting games? Now, I'll satisfy you. A playful and charming smile appeared on Yu Chaolu's face, but her eyes were ice cold. After 20-odd breaths, bang! Zhong Wanhai's whole body flew out, like a broken sack. After crashing through the door of the room, he collapsed on the ground like a dead dog. Blood gushed out of his mouth. Puff. Crack. Next, Yu Chaolu flashed over. The beautiful and charming golden lotus looked so cruel and kicked Zhong Wanhai's knee. Crack. 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 Next, she also stepped on Zhong Wanhai's other leg and both arms, breaking them all. Zhong Wanhai, who had already been seriously injured, was now defenseless. He could only be like the fish on the chopping block, at the mercy of Yu Chaolu. Exciting, isn't it? Bro, they're in-law. Yu Chaolu tilted half of her mouth and asked mockingly, Bitch, you and this little bastard, today both, don't even think about leaving the Heavenly Sword Sect. I must tear you to pieces. Zhong Wanhai was in so much pain that his face twitched, but his mouth was still hard. His eyes glared at Yu Chaolu, filled with endless resentment. Speak, where's my sister? Otherwise, I'll make you want to live but be unable to, and want to die but be unable to. Yu Chaolu's face turned cold, and she crushed her foot a few more times on the other party's knees. Ah. Bitch, ah. You bitch. Zhong Wanhai immediately let out a series of miserable screams. However, he shouted as loudly as he could, but no one else could hear him. At this moment, the entire Heavenly Sword Sect was in a state of chaos. Explosions, firelight, screams, curses, all of this covered up Zhong Wanhai's voice. Moreover, he had also specifically instructed beforehand, for the sake of the bridal chamber, that no one was allowed to come and disturb him. Who in the Heavenly Sword Sect didn't know that this Grand Elder was tyrannical and domineering and unpredictable? Who would dare to come and ask for trouble? However, people from the Heavenly Sword Sect didn't dare to come, but someone dared. Tada tada. At this moment, 3 sneaky, figures climbed over the wall into the courtyard. Next, they ran in this direction, following the sound. Master! Yueyue? The next moment, a suppressed and excited voice rang out. Who else would be coming, if not Miao Yuming and the other two? Seeing Yu Chaolu standing at the door and Yueyue standing beside her, the three were shocked beyond measure. Master! Miao Yuming was the first to run over, with tears in her eyes, and she was about to throw herself into Yu Chaolu's arms. Zhang Wenxuan and Tang Yitai also followed closely behind. At this moment, they didn't even notice Zhong Wanhai lying on the ground. After hugging Yu Chaolu, Miao Yuming finally felt like she had stepped on something that was also soft. Therefore, as she looked down, she subconsciously rubbed her shoe soles again. Little uncle, you stepped on the face of a big bad guy. What did you step on? Why is it so smelly? At this moment, Yueyue was pinching her little nose, blinking her big eyes, and looking sympathetically at Zhong Wanhai, who was being stepped on by Miao Yuming. Chapter 77. Hostage in Hand. Oh my, I'm so sorry, so sorry. Miao Yuming was startled when she saw the filthy, unsightly, and horrible face under her feet, and she quickly jumped down. Ugh. The next second, Zhong Wanhai, who was already seriously injured, only felt a stench surging into his nostrils, and even seemed to enter his internal organs. Suddenly, his stomach churned. A mouthful of old blood, mixed with food residue, spurted out directly. Then, unable to withstand the serious injuries and humiliation, he passed out. Looking at his tragic state, Zhang Wenxuan and Tang Yitai exchanged glances, their faces full of chills. Yueyue even pinched her little nose and ran far away. Yu Chaolu looked at Miao Yuming and revealed an expression of admiration. She had tortured Zhong Wanhai like this, but he hadn't fainted. Yet her little disciple's one kick had sent him off to see the king of hell. But then, she looked at the three disciples, a look of sternness appearing on her pretty face. Who told you to follow? You didn't pay any attention to my words, did you? Faced with the master's questioning, Miao Yuming and the other two showed guilty expressions for their mistake. But their eyeballs were rolling around. Master, we were originally following your instructions and took senior brother away from the sect. But we don't know what happened. We got lost on the way, and then we stumbled into the Heavenly Sword Sect. Zhang Wenxuan explained with a wry smile. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu chuckled. Oh? Then where is your senior brother? We sent him back to the Zhang family. Zhang Wenxuan shrunk his neck and replied guiltily. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu laughed softly. You are really amazing, getting lost and still being able to send your senior brother to the Zhang family and then stumbling into the Heavenly Sword Sect? How could she not know what kind of character her disciples were? How could she not know that the other party was talking nonsense with their eyes open? Hee, that's right, master. Isn't it amazing? Miao Yuming smiled slyly, directly pretending to be foolish and acting cute. Then, she leaned towards Yueyue again and changed the subject. Yueyue, why are you here too? Yes. Yueyue, we thought you were being held by the Grand Elder all along. So this little rascal, you also sneaked into the Heavenly Sword Sect with Master, causing senior brother to worry in vain. Zhang Wenxuan and Tang Yitai also used Yueyue to deflect the blame. Yueyue took 2 steps back, looking at Miao Yuming with a disgusted expression. Little senior aunt, you smell so bad. Miao Yuming immediately rolled her eyes. You ungrateful little thing. At this moment, Yu Chaolu looked at her 3 disciples, feeling both angry and amused, and also making her feel moved without realizing it. All right, stop pretending to be stupid. Saying this, Yu Chaolu raised her eyebrows. How can I not know what kind of character you are? You can make such a big commotion. You have quite a skill. Hearing this, the 3 of them immediately put away their playful smiles and lowered their heads one by one. Master, we know we were wrong. Don't be angry. By the way, I have 2 things to hand over to you for the sect master. Miao Yuming came over, grabbed Yu Chaolu's arm, and shook it coquettishly, then changed her tone. Yu Shuihan? Humph. Yu Chaolu snorted coldly when she heard it. Obviously, she had great resentment towards her father. At this moment, Miao Yuming took out two things from her spatial pouch. They were a pill in a porcelain bottle and a palm-sized flying puppet. This pill was called the 9 Revolutions Life-Preserving Immortal Pill and was an immortal-grade pill. Even if a person only had one breath left, it could bring them back from the brink of death. The entire Tai Xu Sect's treasure pavilion only had 8 pills of this grade. Yu Shuihan had actually taken one out and had Miao Yuming bring it to Yu Chaolu. And that flying puppet was a functional magic treasure, shaped like a wooden bird assembled. After infusing spiritual power, it could grow larger in the wind and carry people to fly. In the case of cultivators who hadn't reached a certain realm and couldn't fly through the air, this kind of flying puppet was also incredibly precious. Master, before we left the mountain, the sect master looked for us and asked me to give you these 2 things. Miao Yuming said. Yu Chaolu looked at the 9 Revolutions Life-Preserving Immortal Pill and the flying puppet, and a complex look flashed across her beautiful eyes. The resentment in her heart towards Yu Shuihan seemed to diminish a bit. The 9 Revolutions Life-Preserving Immortal Pill should have been prepared for emergencies, and for her sister, probably. And the flying puppet was to allow them to escape at an opportune moment. Yu Shuihan, it seems you don't only have the sect in your heart? Yu Chaolu thought to herself, and then she took the porcelain bottle and said to the 3 disciples, I'll keep the 9 Revolutions Life-Preserving Immortal Pill. You can keep this flying puppet. Wenshuan, Itai, Yumeng. I want the 3 of you to take Yueyue and immediately leave the Heavenly Sword Sect. The reason she accepted this life-saving pill was because she suspected her sister. With the 9 Revolutions Life-Preserving Immortal Pill, perhaps she could still salvage something. Master, what about you? Miao Yuming's expression tightened. Yueyue also blinked her big eyes and looked at Yu Chaolu. Mother, Master Ancestor, aren't you going with us? Yu Chaolu shook her head. I still have something unfinished. Speaking of which, she looked coldly at Zhong Wanhai. Don't worry. Do you think I don't have the ability to protect myself? Besides, with this hostage in hand, I'm confident that I can retreat safely. Hearing this, Miao Yuming and the other 2 looked at each other and, in the end, could only reluctantly agree. The 3 of them also knew their own limits. Causing a bit of chaos was okay. Once they encountered a real crisis, their little bit of strength wouldn't be enough at all. When the Heavenly Sword Sect completely reacted, suppressing the chaos, they would probably be found out quickly. It was best to escape from the Heavenly Sword Sect quickly, while it was still in chaos. Staying might even drag down Master. There was no time to lose. The 3 and Yueyue, although reluctant, quickly left this courtyard. At this moment, Yu Chaolu looked at Zhong Wanhai lying unconscious on the ground, and a chilling gleam flashed in her beautiful eyes. Crack. She stepped on the other party's broken knee again. Brother-in-law, wake up. I still have something to ask you. Speak. What happened to my sister? On the other side, in a forest 200 miles away from the Heavenly Sword Sect, a shadow was rapidly shuttling. Another 200 miles, almost there. Chu Zhetian thought to himself. Having already broken through to the nascent soul realm, coupled with his physical strength at the golden body realm, his speed in full flight was even faster than many demon beasts and flying magic treasures. At this moment, he was already not far from the Heavenly Sword Sect. Chapter 78. The Person Under the Bed. A quarter of an hour later, Zhong Wanhai, unable to endure the torture, finally gave in. There was a hidden underground secret chamber in this room. Xianxia is in there. Zhong Wanhai's voice was low and weak. At this moment, he was completely like a dead dog and could only be dragged by Yu Chaolu. Carrying a heart of unease, tension, and anticipation, Yu Chaolu pushed open the door of the underground secret chamber. After entering, a look of surprise flashed across her face. The secret chamber in front of her didn't seem like the prison she had imagined. Instead, it was decorated, incredibly lavishly. One should even say, it was exuding an ambiguous atmosphere. A carpet made of white demon beast fur, pink drapes, and a large bed made of top-grade spirit wood. On the bed, Some of a woman's undergarments were scattered around. This underground secret chamber in front of her seemed more like a bridal chamber than the room above. Where is my sister? Scanning around and not seeing her sister's figure, Yu Chaolu glared at Zhong Wanhai and asked sternly. Zhong Wanhai's eyes flickered a few times, and he looked at the large bed. Your sister is under that bed. What? Yu Chaolu's face changed. She threw Zhong Wanhai on the ground at will, and then quickly ran towards the large bed. After checking under the bed, she touched a mechanism. Then, with a little force, she pulled out a wooden grid under the bed, like a large drawer. This wooden grid was 2 meters long and 1 meter and 20 centimeters wide. Rather than calling it a wooden grid, it was more like a coffin to hold a person. Seeing a person lying inside, Yu Chaolu's beautiful eyes widened, and her eye sockets almost split. Her delicate body was also trembling uncontrollably because of anger and grief. The person inside looked 7 parts similar to Yu Chaolu. It was her sister, Xianxia. The other person was naked and in a tragic state, covered in whip marks, knife wounds, and even deformation caused by blunt objects. Her hands and feet were nailed by black nails, which made her unable to move. After seeing Yu Chaolu, this woman, who was originally on the verge of death, immediately widened her eyes. That kind of look was complicated to the extreme. Surprise, grief, plea, mm. However, she couldn't speak, and could only make a series of vague syllables. Obviously, her tongue had been cut off. Sister! Yu Chaolu cried out in grief. Then she directly shattered the wooden grid and pulled out the black nails from her body. Yu Chaolu's hands trembled, gently stroking her face. Her whole person was sobbing. When she was young, her mother had already died. Her father, Yu Shuihan, was busy with the sect's affairs and simply had no time to take care of her. It was her sister, who was 10 years older than her, who had always watched over her, cared for her, and accompanied her. Yu Chaolu had no concept of her mother, but had an inseparable feeling with her sister Xianxia. But she didn't expect that today, when she saw her again, the other person was tortured into this state, not a human nor a ghost. Sister. It's okay, sister. Your sister is here to save you. Your sister has come. Yu Chaolu no longer had that worldly indifference, as if she didn't care about anything. She hurriedly pried open Yu Chaoxia's mouth and put the extremely precious 9 revolutions life-preserving immortal pill into it. Looking at this scene, a twisted smile appeared on Zhong Wanhai's face. It seemed to be filled with a kind of revengeful pleasure. Io, not dead yet. Really tenacious. Yu Chaolu, how is it? Is my design very thoughtful? I crippled your sister's hands and feet, cut off her tongue, and locked her up below. I made her listen to me and other women having sex every night. Ha 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 ha. Swish. Yu Chaolu turned her head abruptly. Her eyes, looking at Zhong Wanhai, were filled with bone-chilling hatred. Why? Why did you do this to my sister? Just because Zhong Wanlin died in the Tai Xu Sect, you made such an inhuman act towards my sister? Hearing this, a look of extreme resentment also arose on Zhong Wanhai's face. Of course, I didn't just do it to avenge Wanlin. Do you know what your sister has done to me these past few decades? From the time she got pregnant, she would mix childlessness powder into my meals and drinks every day. I have so many wives and concubines, but for so many years, only she gave me one son. I've always been puzzled as to what was going on, and I even thought it was something wrong with my body. It turned out, it was your sister, this bitch, who was causing the trouble. This bitch made me have no descendants. I have to make her life worse than death. Ha 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 ha. Yu Chaolu gritted her teeth and glared at Zhong Wanhai, resentment and mockery. It's also because you have never treated my sister as a human being. This is your retribution. Yu Chaoxia's secret administration of medicine to Zhong Wanhai, Yu Chaolu had mentioned to her when she visited her at the Heavenly Sword Sect before. Because from the day she married Zhong Wanhai, Yu Chaoxia had begun to be subjected to all kinds of abuse from him. Zhong Wanhai, relying on the fact that the Heavenly Sword Sect was stronger than the Tai Xu Sect, and his own strength was far superior to Xiaoxia's, would beat and scold this wife. Even in order to satisfy his twisted psychology, he would insult and abuse Xiaoxia in various ways. This made Xiaoxia feel that she would die in Zhong Wanhai's hands sooner or later. In order to leave a way out for her son, she had to make sure that Zhong Wanhai only had one child. Thus, her son could receive the care and attention of the Zhong clan, and wouldn't be son because of a lowly mother, and be harmed and abused by Zhong Wanhai. Retribution? Then she is in this state now. It's what she deserved. And you, this bitch, the two of you sisters, are both bitches. Today, neither of you can leave the Heavenly Sword Sect alive. If you have the ability, kill me now. Zhong Wanhai felt the excruciating pain all over his body and cursed Yu Chaolu with extreme resentment. Sister, I'll take you home. Yu Chaolu took a deep breath, enduring the urge to tear Zhong Wanhai into pieces right away, and wanted to help her sister up. But just at this moment, a cold voice suddenly rang out. Yu Chaolu, I know you're in there. Come out. This voice, even through the underground secret chamber, clearly penetrated. Obviously, the speaker was a peerless expert. Sister, wait for me here for a moment. Yu Chaolu's expression changed. After explaining to her sister, she picked up the dead dog like Zhong Wanhai and came to the courtyard outside. At this moment, the surroundings of this courtyard had been surrounded by the people of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Leading them was a man of 9 feet in height, incredibly sturdy. It was the current sect master of the Heavenly Sword Sect, Zhong Xiao. After his eyes, like copper bells, landed on Zhong Wanhai, his pupils immediately shrank. Seeing his son's tragic and unsightly appearance, a strong aura of killing intent erupted from his body. Yu Chaolu, how dare you? Release my son. Chapter 79. No tears until they see the coffin. Boom. Somewhere in the Heavenly Sword Sect, another explosion erupted, causing a large area of fire. In addition, there was a foul stench spreading out. Above, some unknown sticky substances were pattering down. Ah! Help! Grab me! A chorus of screams and cries for help rang out. The three and the little one, for figures, were watching this scene from a distance, each with a different expression. Little junior sister, are you addicted to blowing up shit? Chang'e Tai's head was full of black lines. Yeah, let's quickly run away and leave the Heavenly Sword Sect. In case we get caught, don't drag Master down. Zhang Wenxuan fanned in front of his nose, while sweating profusely. What do you know? Although I don't know what else Master has to do, it's definitely right to let the Heavenly Sword Sect be in chaos for a while longer. Don't we still have gunpowder? Let's blow up a few more places. Miao Yumming said with the attitude of someone who would love to see the world in chaos. Tada tada. Just at this moment, a group of people ran out from the direction of the explosion just now. Each one was incredibly miserable, their bodies all wet and sticky, a complete mess. Miao Yuming's eyes lit up when she saw this. She drew her sword and charged forward. And she also handed Yueyue a short sword. This sword was given to her by Master when she was first practicing swordplay. Yueyue, go. Follow little senior aunt and get them. Miao Yumming knew that Yueyue's combat power was even above her own, so she even brought the child along. Oh, little senior aunt is so awesome. Yueyue nodded her head and didn't hesitate at all, also following Miao Yumming with a fierce look. However, her small figure, the way she was running and bouncing, looked a bit comical and cute. Halfway through the run, Miao Yumming suddenly stopped and actually used her sword to dip into one of the explosions. Yueyue saw this and followed suit. Half a minute later, Miao Yumming and Yueyue, for a while, were mowing down the enemies everywhere. They even made magic attacks with every swing of their sword. It was simply a case of a sword dipped in shit. Whoever gets stabbed will die. Zhang Wenxuan and Chang'e Tai, watching this scene, couldn't help but twitch their faces. Third junior brother, don't provoke little junior sister in the future. The former coughed and warned with a dark face. And Yueyue, be nice to this little one in the future. Following little junior sister every day, she might surpass her teacher. Chang'e added. Immediately afterwards, a look of eagerness appeared on his face. Go! Let's go over there and slaughter them. However, just at this moment, their faces changed. They felt a surging aura, rapidly approaching them. Not good. The Heavenly Sword Sect's experts are coming. A mixed Yuan realm expert. Little junior sister, don't get caught up in the fight. Quickly activate the flying puppet and run. Over here. Yu Chaolu was also surrounded by a group of experts led by Zhong Guangxiao, the sect master of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Release your son? Sect Master Zhong, do you think I'm stupid? How can I leave if I release him? Yu Chaolu, holding Zhong Wanhai, sneered mockingly. At this moment, Zhong Wanhai, seeing his father arriving with people, revealed a look of resentment on his face. You bitch, you still want to leave today? Father, don't worry about me. Kill her. Kill her. Yeah. Zhong Wanhai had been tortured like this by Yu Chaolu, and could be said to hate her to the bone. Looking at his 4 broken limbs and his seriously injured state, Zhong Guangxiao's face was completely ashen. The surrounding Heavenly Sword Sect experts looked at Yu Chaolu, their eyes also containing a strong killing intent. Their own Grand Elder had been abused to such a state by this woman. This was simply the shame of the entire sect. Yu Chaolu, you crazy woman. It was supposed to be your happy day. Why did you treat Wanhai with such a vicious hand? Could it be you really want to start a war between the Heavenly Sword Sect and the Tai Xu Sect? Zhong Guangxiao asked with gritted teeth. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu's eyes flickered a few times. She naturally didn't want the 2 factions to start a war. Her original plan was to leave with her sister Xianxia and then burn to ashes the underground secret chamber in Zhong Wanhai. To have no evidence, but she didn't expect that she would still be blocked in advance by Zhong Guangxiao. At this moment, facing the other party's questioning, Yu Chaolu snorted coldly, Why? Sect Master Zhong, don't you really know what your son did to my sister? This is a private feud between my sister and this beast. If you also don't want the 2 sects to go to war, then don't involve the Tai Xu Sect. Zhong Guangxiao's face was a bit unstable. In the end, he took a deep breath. All right, Wanhai wronged your sister, and now he has also been tortured to this state by you. This matter is written off. How about it? You release him, and I'll let you go. Hee hee hee. Sect Master Zhong, are you trying to trick a 3-year-old child? You all step aside, and I will naturally release Zhong Wanhai after I leave the Heavenly Sword Sect. Yu Chaolu didn't give in at all. You're asking for trouble. Are you not afraid that those little mice who helped you create chaos will have nowhere to be buried if you do this? Zhong Guangxiao's tone was sinister. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu's expression suddenly changed a few times. The next second, she sneered, Sect Master Zhong, don't bluff me here. My few disciples have long since gone far away. Zhong Guangxiao, said, Really? The fact seems to be, they were still causing trouble in my Heavenly Sword Sect just now, and I have already ordered people to catch them. Oh? Then where are the people? Yu Chaolu pouted. It seems that you really don't shed tears until you see the coffin. The look of gloom in Zhong Guangxiao's eyes became even more intense. Just as Yu Chaolu was about to say a few mocking words, her face suddenly froze. At the same time, a voice rang out. Sect Master! I've brought the people over. Looking towards the sound, a Heavenly Sword Sect elder came forward quickly. Behind him, several Heavenly Sword Sect experts were holding down 4 people. They were Zhang Wenxuan, Tang Yitai, Miao Yumeng, and Yueyue. Their mouths were stained with blood, and their faces were also very pale, obviously all injured. Not even Yueyue was an exception. Swish. Seeing them, Yu Chaolu's face completely changed, and Zhong Wanhai's face revealed a twisted and happy smile. Ha 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 ha. Yu Chaolu, your few disciples and grandchildren are now also in the hands of my Heavenly Sword Sect. I'll see how you can retreat safely today. Zhong Guangxiao then nodded with satisfaction at the elder, and then looked coldly at Yu Chaolu. Yu Chaolu, aren't you one who doesn't shed tears until you see the coffin? You can discard that bit of luck now? I'll say it again, release my son, or I'll just crush these little mice to death. At this moment, it could be seen that whether it was Miao Yuming and the other two or Yueyue, they all revealed expressions of shame. Master, I'm sorry. I originally wanted to help you. Master, we're useless. In the end, we caused more trouble. You don't have to worry about us. Master Ancestor, Yueyue didn't intentionally get caught by the bad guys, were? Yu Chaolu looked at them, and her face squeezed out a smile that was both moved and helpless. I don't blame you. I only blame myself for not having enough strength to protect you. The next second, she looked coldly at Zhong Guangxiao, but still asked with an undiminished momentum, Sect Master Zhong, now that everyone has hostages, what do you want? Set the terms. Chapter 80. Descending from the Sky. Zhong Guangxiao's eyes narrowed slightly. It's very simple. We exchange hostages. You release my son, and I will also release your few disciples and grandchildren, even including your sister Xianxia. How about it? Yu Chaolu heard this and asked mockingly, You will be so agreeable? At this moment, Zhong Wanhai's voice, gnashing his teeth, rang out. Father, others can go, but this bitch and her sister Xianxia still have to be left behind. I want her to continue being my 10th concubine. Zhong Guangxiao nodded. That's right. Wanhai's request, you have to agree. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu still hee-hee-ed. Just this? Still dare to make me his concubine? Does he have a masochistic tendency? She still didn't believe it. To be honest, this condition wasn't excessive at all. It could even be said, generous. The situation had reached this point. She didn't hope for anything else. Being able to let her 3 disciples and Yueyue leave alive, Yu Chaolu was already satisfied. As for herself and her sister, perhaps this was the fate of her and her sister. Zhong Guangxiao nodded. Am I, the sect master of the Heavenly Sword Sect, talking nonsense? Since Wanhai hasn't died yet, then there's room for easing the situation. Your few disciples and grandchildren, especially this little girl, are completely unimportant to me whether they live or die. I wouldn't have the same views as these small characters. As these words were spoken, Yu Chaolu immediately revealed a contemplative expression. Seeing her reaction, a coldness flashed in Zhong Wanhai's eyes, but he didn't shout madly again. And Zhong Guangxiao smiled slightly and continued to strike while the iron was hot. You think it over carefully? Since you haven't made a big mistake yet, I naturally don't want to kill everyone. Release my son. Everything can be discussed. Master, don't worry about us. You yourself, hold Zhong Wanhai and leave the Heavenly Sword Sect. Master, don't agree to him. Once you hand over the hostages, you'll be at his mercy. Miao Yumeng and the other two shouted urgently. Yueyue was also looking at Yu Chaolu with teary eyes, shaking her small head constantly. Swish. At this moment, Zhong Guangxiao's figure flashed, and he went over and pinched Yueye's neck and lifted the small body. You few little mice, shut up. Your master will decide for herself. With that, he said coldly and forced Yu Chaolu, my patience is limited. I will give you 5 counts to consider. If you still don't agree, I will crush these little mice one by one. Starting with this little girl. Yueyue. Zhong Guangxiao, stop. Yu Chaolu's face changed drastically. At this moment, Yueyue was being choked by her neck, and the adorable little face turned purple. But she still kept shaking her little head. Master Ancestor, don't worry about Yueyue. Master Ancestor, run. Tell Father. Yueyue misses him. Let Father avenge Yueyue. Seeing Yueyue like this, Yu Chaolu felt as if her liver and intestines were about to break. The next second, she urgently said to Zhong Guangxiao, Sect Master Zhong, release the child. I agree to your trade. It wasn't that she really believed Zhong Guangxiao, but she had no other choice. If she agreed, maybe she could gamble on a glimmer of hope that the other party could keep his word. If she didn't agree, Yueyue would die now. As the words fell, a satisfied smile appeared on Zhong Guangxiao's face. That's right. Then, he casually threw Yueyue on the ground and waved at the elder who had captured the people. Elder Ma, go. Give the people to her, and then bring Wanhai over.
Yes.
Elder Ma cupped his hands and replied. Then, it could be seen that the other party, pulling the chains, brought Miao Yuming and the other 4 people to Yu Chaolu's side. Miss Yu, let go? Elder Ma signaled to Yu Chaolu. Yu Chaolu took a deep breath, staring fixedly at Zhong Guangxiao. Sect Master Zhong, you are the Heavenly Sword Sect Master. So many people are watching. I hope you will keep your word after I release the people. That's only natural. Zhong Guangxiao said expressionlessly. All right. Yu Chaolu nodded, and finally, she released the hand that was restraining Zhong Wanhai. Elder Ma hurriedly went over and carried the ladder, and quickly returned to Zhong Guangxiao's side. At this moment, whether it was Yu Chaolu or Miao Yuming and the other 2, their nerves were tense. They stared unblinkingly at Zhong Guangxiao's next reaction. The exchange of hostages was complete, hoping the other party could really keep his word. Father! At this moment, Zhong Wanhai, like a mud ball, was lying on Elder Ma's back and shouted in a hoarse voice at Zhong Guangxiao, Don't let them go. All right, take care of your injuries. I know what to do. Zhong Guangxiao looked at his eldest son's tragic state, and his eyes once again burst with boundless coldness. Looking at Yu Chaolu and the others, the killing intent in his eyes finally didn't hide it anymore. Kill them all. The Heavenly Sword Sect Master waved his hand. The voice was cold and sharp, as if not carrying the slightest emotional fluctuation. Hearing this, Yu Chaolu's face changed drastically. Zhong Guangxiao, you despicable villain. You are breaking your word. Breaking my word? You people made a big disturbance in my Heavenly Sword Sect and tortured my sect's Grand Elder, and I still have to talk about integrity with you? If I don't kill you, how can my Heavenly Sword Sect establish its authority? When dealing with enemies, what's the need for the word faith? Zhong Guangxiao sneered, and then issued the order again.
Attack.
Clang, clang, clang. As the words fell, the sound of swords being drawn was incessant. A group of Heavenly Sword Sect experts present pointed their swords at Yu Chaolu and the other 5. Damn it, we'll fight with you. Tang Yitai cursed indignantly. Zhang Wenxuan and Miao Yuming were also preparing to fight to the death. Ye's body surface again appeared a wisp of black air. That pair of originally pure big eyes began to turn towards the incomparably evil pure black. Faced with a desperate situation, the little one once again showed signs of demonicization. And in Yu Chaolu's beautiful eyes, besides grief and resolution, a hint of sadness also arose. She looked in a certain direction, as if carrying a certain yearning, wanting to see the figure of someone there. Zhetian, where are you? Before we separated, you promised me that it wouldn't be too long. It seems I can't wait for you. Just at this moment, the shouts of killing sounded. Kill! Kill! What followed was the overwhelming killing intent. The surrounding Heavenly Sword Sect experts rushed towards them. Faced with such a desperate situation, Yu Chaolu and the other 5 might be killed instantly. Miao Yuming and the other 2 were already lacking in strength and were also injured. And Yu Chaolu, as the effect of the exploding spirit pill disappeared, the spiritual energy in her body had already been burnt out. Not to mention maintaining her previous golden core realm, even her original 7th layer of the golden core strength couldn't be exerted. As for the flying puppet, it wouldn't be useful in this situation. They would probably be shot down by countless attacks as soon as they took to the air. This was clearly a dead end. However, just at this moment, a sudden change occurred. 2 huge black shadows suddenly descended from the sky, carrying a kind of aura that made people's hearts tremble, and also a chilling and fierce might that made everyone present feel a chill in their spines and feel uneasy. It was as if they were enveloped by the god of death. Boom, boom. In the next instant, accompanied by 2 loud roars, 2 black coffins crashed to the ground,